Chapter 33:13. These two people were not suited for business. One was focused on research, cultivation, and matters related to inheritance, while the other was a crooked businessman. Therefore, the two of them only blindly followed the trend and did not know how to predict the market. They spent a lot of effort to get the technical plan of the first-grade automatic medical cauldron, but the sales were getting lower and lower. Just like the Kong family in the past, they only relied on a monopoly to make a fortune. Once the market was impacted, they would suffer losses. Now, Kong Ming was the same. In terms of crafty ideas, Lu Jinghan might not be his opponent, but in business, even 10 Kong Mings would not be enough. Therefore, after the two of them saw the predicament, they turned their attention to the second-grade automatic medical cauldron that had not yet been put on sale. They hoped to make a fortune through the supply of raw materials for the second-grade automatic medical cauldron. However, they had never thought about how big the market for the second-grade automatic medical cauldron was, or rather, they had misunderstood. They thought that the second-grade automatic medical cauldron was the same as the first-grade automatic medical cauldron. The threshold for using it was very low, and anyone could use it. Therefore, there would definitely be a sales frenzy. Then, should we use the money we earned from the first-grade intelligent medical cauldron to mass-produce the second-grade cauldrons? Kong Ming asked. Yes, when the time comes, the production of the second-grade automatic medical cauldron will not be able to bypass our raw materials. Patriarch Xianqin nodded and said, since we can't make money from the production and sale of the second-grade automatic medical cauldron, we must seize the raw materials market. Who said we can't sell? Kong Ming waved his hand and said proudly, Father-in-law, we are raw materials suppliers. When the time comes, we can use this as a bargaining chip to negotiate with Lin E. The second-grade automatic medical cauldron produced by Lin E must be given to us to sell, and the price must be low. This way, we can directly label it as our heavenly elixir sex second-grade intelligent medical cauldron and sell it. Our customers won't think that we don't have follow-up products and technical support. Oh, that's a good idea. Speaking of which, Xiaoming, you're a business genius. After Patriarch Xianqin heard that, he immediately felt that it made sense. However, he did not come into contact with businesses in the secular world, so he did not know that this kind of labeling was the most common business method. It did not require any business acumen at all. The market could be seen everywhere, but when it came to Kong Ming, he became a business genius. Haha, it's just a small trick. Although Kong Ming said so, he looked very proud. You're in charge of following up on this matter. Then you have to hurry up with the matter of the extreme qi-gathering pill. Get it and kill that brat Lin E. Patriarch Xianqin said. Don't worry, father-in-law. Kong Ming nodded. However, what Kong Ming did not expect was that he had made hundreds of second-grade medicine cauldrons, but neither Lin E nor Lu Jinghan had shown any intention to buy second-grade medicine cauldrons. Seeing that the Cultivator Trading Association's second-grade automatic medicine cauldrons had begun to be auctioned, and the number was getting lesser and lesser, the sects that bought them were very favorable, but Lu Jinghan did not show any intention to buy more medicine cauldrons. It must be known that Kong Ming was very clear that Lu Jinghan only had 30 second-grade medicine cauldrons provided by Right Coiling Tiger. She did not have any more, seeing that they were about to be sold out. Why was there no news at all? Could it be that she deliberately kept a low profile, and the purpose was to prevent him from raising the price? However, when there were only 10 second-grade automatic medicine cauldrons left, neither Lin E nor Lu Jinghan took the initiative to contact him. This made Kong Ming very puzzled. How could this business be done like this? There were only 10 left in the inventory. If they did not replenish the stock, did they not want to do business? Moreover, the production still needed a certain amount of time, right? It was impossible to say that the moment you bought the raw materials, you would immediately produce it. Did you think it was an automated production line? However, The production of second-grade automatic medicine cauldrons needed to be handmade. Father-in-law, what do you think Lin Yi is trying to do? Does he want to make a one-time deal and not sell it in the future? Kong Mingming finally could not hold it in anymore and went to find Patriarch Xianchen. Patriarch Xuanzhen's grasp of the economy was not as good as Kong Mingming, so when he heard Kong Mingming's words, he was immediately a little dumbfounded. Zhao Ming, is it very difficult to produce these second-grade automatic medicine cauldrons? Is Lin Yi thinking of not selling them in the future? That shouldn't be the case. Although this thing is difficult to make, it is also a real moneymaker. This money is enough for Lin Yi to build an orphanage. He shouldn't give up. Kong Mingming shook his head and said, "Now, I am afraid that Lin Yi will produce his own second-grade medicine cauldrons or buy them from other channels. Then, won't our second-grade medicine cauldrons be unable to be sold?" That's impossible. Although the difficulty of creating a second-grade cauldron wasn't that high, as long as one had the strength of a heaven-rank, yellow-rank, third-level alchemist, they would be able to create it. However, how many heaven-rank, yellow-rank, third-level alchemists were there? Moreover, many of the materials used to make this second-grade medicine cauldron are exclusively controlled by our heavenly elixir sect. They come from the edge of the Five Evils savage land. Other sects have no channels to get them. Is it Lin Yi or that Han Jingjing? Or Boss Bai? Even if they can make it, do they have a place to get the materials? That's true. Then Lin Yi probably wants to put on airs. Kong Mingming had just finished speaking when his phone rang. He glanced at it and saw that it was his big brother, Kong Xiaolong. The hidden house was now wavering because of Lin Yi's strength. They didn't dare to leak information about Lin Yi. However, Kong Xiaolong, who was beside Yupanhu, didn't have this concern. After he received the news, he called Kong Mingming immediately. "Big brother, what's the matter?" Kong Mingming asked, after picking up the phone. "Zhao Ming, listen carefully. Just now, Lin Yi called Yupanhu and asked if they still have any second-grade medicine cauldrons. Lin Yi wants some, but Yupanhu's family doesn't have any left. He can only agree to help him think of a way to get one or two." Kong Xiaolong said. "What?" Kong Mingming was worried at first, but suddenly heard the good news. He slapped his thigh and said excitedly, "That's great. That's great. Big brother, this is very important. Don't worry if there are benefits in the future. You will definitely get them." Chapter 33:14. All right, after a while, I'll see what Heavenly Elixir Sect can do in the secular world. I'll let you do it then. Kong Xiaoming had the confidence to do so. He was the son-in-law of Elder Xianchen. It was a piece of cake for him to get a few projects for House Kong. Plus, Kong Xiaolong had done a great job this time as well. After hanging up, the Xianchen ancestor didn't scold Kong Mingming for giving benefits to House Kong on his own. He heard what Xiaolong said on the phone. Lin Yi had started to buy second-grade cauldrons. However, Lin Yi didn't buy from Heavenly Elixir Sect or Five Elements Sect. Instead, he went to you Coiling Tiger. This Lin Yi, he didn't even think about where House Yu's second-grade cauldrons came from. Isn't it from Heavenly Elixir Sect? As long as we block the source, no matter how powerful Lin Yi is, no matter how wide his connections are, it's all for naught. The Xianchen ancestor breathed a sigh of relief after hearing the news. Therefore, Elder Xianchen and Kong Xiaoming were reassured. They began to mass-produce and hoard second-grade cauldrons. From their point of view, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to monopolize and make a fortune. How could they let it go? However, when there were only 3 left, the Cultivator Trade Association announced that these were the last 3 cauldrons to be auctioned. From now on, this second-grade cauldron would no longer be sold in the market. These 3 cauldrons would be given as gifts to the Dark Palace. Next, they would introduce a new model of the cauldron, but the new model had technical difficulties that had yet to be overcome. The release date was yet to be determined. In other words, these 32nd grade cauldrons, they would become an out-of-print product in the market. Those cultivators who originally had a dispensable attitude towards this auction were now shocked and regretting their decision. The reason was very simple. They thought to themselves, after these 30 were auctioned, as the number of cauldrons increased, this thing would definitely get cheaper. So they weren't in a hurry. According to the market of first-grade cauldrons, the Heavenly Elixir sect would definitely introduce imitations. At that time, this thing would be worthless. But who would have thought that this thing would become a rare item? And the last 3 were not auctioned off, but given to the Palace of Darkness. What did that mean? Could it be that they couldn't even buy medicine for regret? Indeed, they couldn't buy it, but the Palace of Darkness didn't need 3 at all. 1 was enough, and the other 2 were just Han Jingjing's gifts to Meng Yao. Meng Yao was the publicly acknowledged first wife of Lin Yi, so naturally, Han Jingjing would try to please her. The remaining 2 would be up to Meng Yao to decide who to sell them to. Not only would this help the Palace of Darkness build connections, but it would also create some income for them. Elder Dark Knight, your Palace of Darkness has been developing well recently. We're both from the ancient level, so we should get to know each other. I'll definitely pay you a visit in the next few days. Elder Dark Knight, I heard that your Palace Master Chu's boyfriend is Hero Lin Yi. He's incomparably brave and can instantly kill a peak late-stage heaven rank expert. We're really envious. Yeah, Elder Dark Knight, your Palace of Darkness not only has an inheritor, but also a master like Lin Yi. It'd be hard for you not to develop. The Grand Elder of the Palace of Darkness was here to represent the Palace of Darkness. She didn't want to come, but Meng Yao made her come. So she had to. In fact, Meng Yao knew that Han Jingjing would give her 3 second-rank cauldrons, which was why she asked the Grand Elder to go. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come. But what the Grand Elder didn't know was that the Palace of Darkness wasn't rich, and she couldn't afford a second-rank cauldron. Most importantly, the Grand Elder wasn't very sociable. Although, it wasn't that she wasn't sociable. In the ancient level, strength was everything. If you didn't have strength and the Palace of Darkness was weak, who would want to talk to you? It was good enough to ignore you. It was good enough that they didn't make sarcastic remarks. That was why the Grand Elder was never willing to participate in these masochistic gatherings. Although she once swore in her heart that she would make the Dark Palace stand at a height that others would fight to please in her lifetime, just like the Heavenly Elixir sect. But as she grew older, and as time passed, the Grand Elder's dream never changed, but reality made her understand that it was impossible for the Palace of Darkness to catch up. Palace Master Yuaner was just a puppet, and she, alone, couldn't change anything. However, all of this changed drastically after Yao became the Palace Lord of the Dark Knight Palace. Of course, the Grand Elder understood that rather than saying that it was Meng Yao's change, it was more because she found a good bodyguard. And that person was Lin Yi. The Grand Elder knew the relationship between Meng Yao and Lin Yi, but she still insisted on making Lin Yi Meng Yao's fiancé because she saw a bright future for the Palace of Darkness. But even if the Grand Elder was optimistic about the future of the Palace of Darkness, she didn't think that this moment would come so quickly, so suddenly. At this moment, the Grand Elder had a surreal feeling, and he was unable to deal with this situation. Looking at these sect masters and elders who were fawning over him, the Grand Elder had an urge to cry. She did it. She finally did it. Although it wasn't the Grand Elder who did it, it didn't matter. As long as the Palace of Darkness grew, she could die without regrets. The Grand Elder didn't think that Lin Yi's influence would be this big, to be able to make these people act like this. Wasn't it just a second-rank cauldron? In fact, there was also Lin Yi's power. These ancient sects didn't have any grudges with Lin Yi, and other than a few, they didn't want to make enemies with Lin Yi. It didn't matter if Lin Yi could kill him in one shot or not. Anyway, Lin Yi was definitely very strong, so these people didn't want to mess with him if they could. The Grand Elder was busy chatting with these people, but in her heart, she was happy, wishing that this would happen every day. The commotion here, however, made the face of someone on the other side darken. This person was Kong Ming Ming. He came with Xiao Yi. He thought that after Lin Yi sold all 3 cauldrons, Lin Yi would definitely beg him, Kong Ming Ming, to order the materials for the cauldrons. Chapter 33:15. For example, leaving Wang Xinyan, returning Wang Xinyan to his brother, taking back Lil Yi's heaven-grade weapon, and so on. However, the scene in front of him made Kong Ming Ming feel like he was struck by lightning. He was dumbfounded and speechless. What? After these 32nd grade cauldrons were sold out, they wouldn't be selling them anymore? They were going to produce improved products, but they hadn't overcome the technical difficulties? What did this mean? The time to be on the market was unknown? In other words, it was uncertain whether they would be on the market or not. If they didn't overcome the technical difficulties, there would be no 2nd grade cauldrons to be sold in the future? How could this be? What about the 302nd grade cauldrons he had just made in his house? Who were they going to sell them to? Little Yi's breathing was also very rapid. He knew very well that he and Ancestor Xianqin were bound together for good or ill. If Ancestor Xianqin and Kong Xiaoming's 2nd grade cauldrons couldn't be sold, then what would happen? Brother Kong, Little Yi took a deep breath and turned to look at Kong Ming Ming. Don't panic. Kong Ming Ming forced himself to calm down and said, Lin must need a 2nd grade cauldron. Otherwise, why would he call the hidden right family to ask? Although there are technical difficulties to overcome for the 2nd grade cauldrons he made, the raw materials are 2nd grade cauldrons. Moreover, Lin Yi is not stupid. If he really couldn't overcome the technical difficulties, would he be stupid enough to give up this market? Obviously not. I don't believe that Lin Yi would be so stupid. He will definitely continue to make the current 2nd grade cauldrons. So, our 2nd grade cauldrons won't be left no matter what. It's just a matter of time. Brother Kong is really a genius. You can analyze Lin Yi's thoughts in such a short time. No wonder Master values you so much. After hearing Kong Ming Ming's words, Little Yi was relieved, as if he had taken a tranquilizer. Now, in his opinion, Kong Ming Ming still had some ability. No wonder Ancestor Xianqin wanted Little Yi to marry him. Although his cultivation strength wasn't high, his IQ was still quite high. Wasn't the 5 Elements sect lacking such a person now? The two of them calmed down and returned to the 5 Elements sect. Kong Ming Ming told Patriarch Xianqin about his analysis. Patriarch Xianqin was relieved. After all, Kong Ming Ming's analysis was very reasonable. In fact, what they didn't know was that this 2nd-class automatic medicinal cauldron was just a temporary substitute suggested by Lin Yi. His purpose was to trick Kong Ming Ming. Han Jingjing had already found the materials that could replace a Grade 2 cauldron. The so-called technical difficulties were just Han Jingjing wanting to perfect the 2nd grade automatic medicinal cauldron a little more. After all, the current 2nd grade automatic medicinal cauldron could only be controlled by a limited number of people. Only a 2nd grade alchemist could use it. However, there were only a few 2nd grade alchemists in the entire ancient times. If you were to produce so many 2nd grade automatic medicinal cauldrons, who would you sell them to? This thing wouldn't break down so quickly unless it was done improperly and caused an explosion. Otherwise, a cauldron could be used for a few years or even decades. If you produced this kind of cauldron again, you wouldn't be able to sell it at all. During this time, Lin Yi had been staying in the Palace of Darkness to practice. The 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery was about to break through to the level of perfection. Lin Yi was ready to break through in one go. However, Lin Yi knew that this thing wasn't something that could be achieved in a day. Whether or not he could successfully break through, it was up to fate. Just when the Grand Elder happily returned to the Palace of Darkness with the 3 second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons, Lin Yi also received a call from Han Jingjing, or rather Lu Jinghan. There were a lot of sect masters and elders who wanted to use high prices or other resources to exchange for the cauldrons from the Grand Elder, but the Grand Elder didn't agree. She was very clear about her position in the Palace of Darkness, and was ready to let Meng Yao make the decision when she came back. However, she noted down all the conditions that each family offered, so that Meng Yao could come up with a plan to sell the 2 extra cauldrons to which family they should sell them. Jingjing, it's about the cauldrons, right? Linny picked up and asked. Yes, Linny bro. You really know everything, Han Jingjing said, surprised. Lu Jinghan, stop complimenting me. I'm not used to it. Lin Yi sweated. Han Jingjing's compliments always made him feel awkward. I'm Han Jingjing. Could it be that Lin Yi bro likes business genius girls like Lu Jinghan? Han Jingjing asked. Then it'll be Han Jingjing. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Do you have a new plan? Actually, you can make your own decisions. You don't have to discuss everything with me. Actually, it's like this. Second-grade automatic cauldrons that use replacement materials can be sold in the market at any time. We've already found a solution to the problem of the cauldron materials. However, if it's just a replacement material, even if the quality is slightly better, it won't be able to increase the sales. Han Jingjing said. The current second-grade automatic cauldrons use sky elixir sex cauldrons as raw materials, and they can be used for years or even decades. Our substitute materials, on the other hand, can be used for decades. There's a difference in essence, but it's not that big. We can't wait for a decade before we sell it. Oh, then, what's the situation now? Lin Yi asked. The second-grade automatic cauldrons were selling well recently, and Lin Yi had gotten a huge sum of money from the Overseas Practitioners Association. It was still in the jade space, and he didn't have time to give it to Xiaoke. Plus, with the money transfer, the orphanage didn't lack money anymore. It was on the right track, and Lin Yi had one less thing to worry about. So Lin Yi didn't need money that much, but Lin Yi knew that the company's operations had reached a certain scale, and it had become a business that House Lu, Fatty Lai, and Kong Xiaobo depended on to survive. It couldn't be stopped or shut down, so Lin Yi had to keep helping them. The current situation is that Jingjing has invented a cauldron that allows a first-grade refiner to refine second-grade pills. Han Jingjing's words were earth-shattering, and it gave Lin Yi a big fright. What? A first-grade refiner can refine second-grade pills? Lin Yi couldn't be blamed for his shock. This was simply overturning the millennium-old laws and rules of the cultivation world. If a first-grade refiner could refine second-grade pills, then the status of a second-grade refiner would plummet. Chapter 33:16. Yes, but now there is still a technical problem. Han Jingjing said. The principle of this first and second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron is to rely on the first-grade alchemist to control the temperature of the alchemy fire. In terms of fire intensity, the alchemy fire of the first-grade alchemist is definitely not as good as the fire intensity of the second-grade alchemist's alchemy fire. In this part, we can rely on external forces to make up for it. I think this external force is a material that can store and provide heaven and earth aura. As long as we find this material, we can make the first and second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron. It's just that this material is quite difficult to find, and charging it with energy is also a problem. Although we can earn a lot of follow-up profits by constantly helping the first and second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron to charge, even if this material is found, how to charge it with energy and how to charge it is also a problem. Han Jingjing's words were not complicated. It was nothing more than a condition that the first-grade alchemist could not meet. This new version of first and second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron could be used to make up for it. This principle was the same as Lin Yi's original idea of using the joint attack technique to let multiple alchemists simultaneously perform alchemy. He didn't expect that after Han Jingjing heard it, She directly applied it on the new version of the automatic medicinal cauldron. He had to say that Han Jingjing was a little genius. If this kind of medicinal cauldron went on the market, it would probably bring an unimaginable rush to buy it, and the subsequent after-sales service charging would also be an astronomical profit. But the same problem was how to store energy and qi. Lin Yi had a flash of inspiration. The first thing that came to mind was Falbert's heirloom white energy stone. Later, the thing that Yu Dake brought was the same thing. In other words, this white energy stone could store and release energy and qi. However, this kind of thing was rare. At first, it was regarded as a treasure by Falbert's sect, and later, not many were found. One could imagine the rarity of this thing, but later, Yu Dake brought a treasure map, saying that there was a lot of this stone in the treasure. Could it be possible to get these stones out? Thinking of this, Lin Yi fell silent and began to plan in his heart. Even without Han Jingjing, Lin Yi had planned to go to the Hakanamada Desert. According to the information provided by the Red Conches, there was a poison refining base there. Moreover, it was the largest poison refining base in the Red Conches. Perhaps there would be news of the pangolin there. Big brother Lin Yi, what are you thinking? Are you thinking of that white energy stone? Han Jingjing asked. You've also thought of it? Only then did Lin Yi remember that Han Jingjing also knew about this matter. When he was free, Lin Yi had given the stone to Han Jingjing to study. Yes, when Jingjing designed the first and second grade automatic medicinal cauldrons, she used this white energy stone as a reference. Jingjing thought that the principle of this thing is probably the same, so when Jingjing designed it, she also used the white energy stone as the prototype. Han Jingjing said, in other words, as long as we have this white energy stone, we can mass produce it, right? Lin Yi nodded and made up his mind to go to the Hakanamada Desert. Yes, but this only solves the initial problem. The key is to recharge. Han Jingjing paused and continued, or if we have enough white energy stones to replace it. This is a difficult problem. Lin Yi frowned. Where did the energy of this white energy stone come from? After using it, could it be recharged? After thinking about it, Lin Yi said, Jingjing, wait a minute. I'll make a call and ask about this matter. Lin Yi patted his head. How could he forget about Boss Bai? Boss Bai, as the former sect master of the Five Elements faction, was very knowledgeable. Since Little 11 didn't take away the energy stone after seeing it, but threw it aside in disdain, it meant that she had seen this thing before. So, if she had seen this thing, how could Boss Bai not have seen it before? Thinking about this, Lin Yi decided to ask Boss Bai for advice. Okay, Brother Lin Yi, I'll wait for your news. Oh, I've returned to East Ocean City. I'm at the mansion. When will you come back? Han Jingjing somewhat missed Lin Yi. When Lin Yi came back, she wasn't at home. When she received the news and came back, Lin Yi was already gone. In fact, Lin Yi left the mansion after one night, and Han Jingjing couldn't make it back in time the next day. Okay, I'll go back now. I also want to visit Ms. Bai, Lin Yi said. Then I'll be waiting for you. Han Jingjing nodded happily. Lin Yi got up and left the guest room. He was leaving the Palace of Darkness. He had stayed in the Palace of Darkness for about a week. Lin Yi's third stage of the art of dragon mastery was close to completion, but it wasn't complete yet. He had been stagnating these few days, so it was time for Lin Yi to leave. Although Meng Yao knew that Lin Yi couldn't always stay with her in the Palace of Darkness, she didn't expect that when the day really came, she would be this sad, just like the last time they parted. Meng Yao imagined that Lin Yi could stay with her in the Palace of Darkness, although they didn't see each other much, and Lin Yi was there most of the time. It was enough. It was just like when they were in the mansion. Knowing that Lin Yi was by her side, Meng Yao felt very safe. But Meng Yao was a rational person. She knew that Lin Yi still had many things to do, and it was impossible for him to not leave. Only when Lin Yi kept improving could they be together in the future. Lin Yi had to improve his strength in order to face the Sky Island project in the future. after saying goodbye to Meng Yao. And the grand elder, Meng Yao, didn't want to leave, but she didn't show it on her face. She was just a little sad. The miss was like that. She kept a lot of things in her heart and wouldn't say it out loud. That night, Lin Yi rode the purple lightning beast back to Donghai City. When Lin Yi got home, he saw Han Jingjing in the living room. Big bro Lin Yi, you're back. Han Jingjing, Yushu, and Xin Yan were very familiar with each other, so she didn't feel strange at all. And Jingjing, pack up. We'll go see Ms. Bai together. Lin Yi wanted to settle this as soon as possible and leave for Hakanamada Desert. Chapter 33:17. Yushu and Xin Yan didn't know what to do, but they heard from Han Jingjing that Lin Yi was going to see Boss Bai after he came back. It was already very late, but Boss Bai was happy to hear that Lin Yi was coming. However, in Boss Bai's living room, Lin Yi unexpectedly saw Himei Wei. He didn't expect Himei Wei to move into Boss Bai's house. Did this mean that Bai Weiduo had gotten Himei Wei? As expected, when Lin Yi glanced at Bai Weiduo was a little embarrassed. Boss, I've already brought Mei Wei to see her parents. We've made plans to go to Southeast Asia tomorrow, so Mei Wei will be staying here tonight. Lin Yi nodded. Although Lin Yi always felt that Himei Wei wasn't very reliable, since Bai Weiduo liked her, Lin Yi didn't want to interfere too much. Have fun. Lin Yi smiled. Boss, are you really not going? You're not bringing sis-in-law Xin Yan. Ugh. And sis-in-law Jingjing. Bai Weiduo saw Han Jingjing and knew that he said the wrong thing. It was really harmful to speak without thinking. Han Jingjing was obviously here, but she had to mention Xin Yan. Bai Weiduo was a little depressed. Even an idiot could see that Han Jingjing and Lin Yi's relationship wasn't ordinary. However, Han Jingjing didn't have any expression of jealousy. Instead, when she heard him call her sis-in-law, she was a little shy. This made Bai Weiduo feel relieved. I'm not going. I have a lot of things to do here. Are you two going tomorrow? Lin Yi asked. Fan Ganha and Zhang Duopan are going too. Who knows why they're going? But we're not on the same schedule. When it came to this matter, Bai Weiduo was a little annoyed. These two people were really haunting him. Himei Wei had already confirmed a relationship with him. Did Zhang Duopan still want to interfere with it? Those two. Lin Yi frowned after hearing this. Be careful. Don't worry, boss. I'll stay away from them. Bai Weiduo nodded. Lin Yi didn't say anything more. He turned around and said to Boss Bai, Mr. Bai, shall we talk in the study? Let's go. Boss Bai knew that Lin Yi must have a reason to visit him so late, so he stood up and walked to the library first, followed by Lin Yi and Han Jingjing. After they entered the study, Bai Weiduo said to Himei Wei with a smile, Mei Wei, it's getting late. Shall we go rest? What rest? Grandpa Bai didn't rest, and you're telling me to rest? Aren't you making a fool of yourself? What's going on in your head? Himei Wei and Bai Weiduo had not broken through the last line of defense, but the two of them were already kissing and hugging. Even so, Bai Weiduo could not stop. Then let's watch TV here for a while. Bai Weiduo laughed twice and sat on the sofa helplessly. However, after Himei Wei sat down, she glanced at Bai Weiduo and said shyly, Bai Weiduo, how about you take a bath first? Seeing that you've endured so much these days, I promise to reward you tonight. I can use my mouth to help you. Do it once, but you have to wash it clean. If you can't do it properly, don't blame me for not keeping my promise. After hearing Himei Wei's words, Bai Weiduo was pleasantly surprised. He quickly stood up, patted his chest, and promised, Don't worry, I will definitely wash it well. I promise to wash it very clean, 3 circles inside and 3 circles outside. You won't find any problem. And, okay, I'll check the time. Don't come out less than half an hour. Himei Wei nodded with satisfaction. Of course, half an hour is too short, at least 30 minutes. Bai Weiduo laughed and rushed in the direction of the bathroom. after seeing Bai Weitua enter the bathroom. Mei Wei, who was originally sitting on the sofa, had a complicated look in her eyes. Then, she stood up, picked up a cup of water on the coffee table, and walked in the direction of the water dispenser. However, when she passed by the study room, she seemed to have slipped and held on to the door of the study room for support before stopping. Although Lin Yi was a heaven stage expert, he also felt that someone was coming from the door of the study room. But then, there was the sound of the water dispenser, so Lin Yi didn't care. After all, the people outside the door were Bai Weitua and others. Lin Yi didn't need to suspect anything. Besides, this person just went to get the water and didn't stay at the door of the study room. At this moment, Lin Yi just finished chatting with Boss Bai and briefly talked about what happened recently. Then he went into the main topic. Teacher Bai, you must have heard about the latest second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron, right? Lin Yi asked. Why haven't I heard about it? Your second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron has been in the limelight recently. But why? I heard that this medicinal cauldron has stopped selling. Are you preparing to research some improved version? Boss Bai asked. Yes, it is indeed like this. This rumor is not wrong. Lin Yi directly admitted this point. We are developing a new generation of second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron. It will no longer use second-grade medicinal cauldron as the raw material, but use a new type of substitute material to make it. But we have encountered a technical problem. Oh, you have found the substitute material? That's really great. Boss Bai nodded after listening and said, I have to tell you before that even if the raw material of this second-grade medicinal cauldron is ordered from the Hidden You family, their medicinal cauldron also comes from the Heavenly Elixir sect, which is the 5 Elements sect. So, this is not a long-term solution. But since you have found it, there is no problem. Yes, but the current difficulty is to make this second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron more intelligent. Lin Yi said, It's like this. As Lin Yi spoke, he explained the principle and function of the new first-grade and second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron invented by Han Jingjing to Boss Bai in detail. Oh, so this medicinal cauldron is actually so powerful. Boss Bai was a senior alchemist. His understanding of alchemy was even deeper than that of Lin Yi. At this time, when he heard that there was actually such a medicinal cauldron, he was very surprised. He also knew what kind of impact this kind of medicinal cauldron would have on alchemists. Yes, but this kind of white energy stone is very rare. Lin Yi said, Here is a map which was given to me by a friend. It is said that in the distant Hakanamata desert, there is such a white energy stone mine, and there are many white energy stones in it. Chapter 33:18. What's wrong, Mr. Bai? Is there anything wrong? Seeing Boss Bai's expression, Lin Yi's heart sank slightly. It seemed that things were not as simple as he had imagined. Lin Yi, even if you go to the Hakanamata desert, you may not be able to get the white energy stone. Boss Bai shook his head and said, Because I know very well about the white energy stone. It was recorded in detail in the 5 Elements Sect's journal. What do you mean? Is there no white energy stone there? Is this map a lie? Lin Yi was stunned and asked, The map is not a lie. There is indeed a white energy stone mine there. Boss Bai paused for a moment and then continued. However, that place is not an ownerless place. It has long been controlled by someone, and it is a family of cultivators. A cultivation family? Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that things were not as easy as he had imagined. That's right. There is a mysterious race called the Bubbly Clan in the Hakanamata Desert. This race can be said to be human, but also not human. No one knows what they are because they have never revealed it. They appear in human form, but they look very different from ordinary people. At first, everyone thought that they were people from a foreign land, and it was normal for them to look different. But with the development of science and technology and the popularization of the internet, even people in the cultivation world can use the internet. People found that the appearance of this race is different from that of foreigners. It is special, so we suspect that they are not a human race. Boss Bai explained, the Bubbly clan? Not human? Lin Yi was a little surprised after hearing this, but not to the extent of being shocked. After all, Lin Yi had seen the Great Flame Lion clan, the Spider clan, and there were Purple Electric Beast clan, and other cultivating spirit beasts around him. So it was not surprising that other non-human clans could cultivate. Yes, but I'm not sure because the Bubbly clan, apart from our 5 Elements sect, and the Cultivators Trade Association have little contact with other people and have little information. Boss Bai paused for a moment and said, when they came to the cultivation world on Huaxia's side, the Bubbly clan didn't have much contact with other people. They're here to do business. Through our 5 Elements sect, they've contacted the Cultivators Trade Association. And then they're selling the white energy stones in exchange for the cultivation resources they need. So they're saying that their white energy stones can be sold? Lin Yi's interest was piqued at this point. But these white energy stones, I don't think it's very common now. Yes, but that was in the past. In the last 200 to 300 years, the Bubbly clan no longer had dealings with this side. During their last transaction, they also said that the white energy stone mines were becoming fewer and fewer. They would keep the rest for their own use. As for the cultivation resources they traded, they would have to pay for it. It was enough for them to use for several lifetimes, so they stopped trading. Boss Bai said, so, after the passage of these 200 or 300 years, most of the cultivators who know about this kind of white energy stone have either passed away or are too lazy to mention it. Lin Yi nodded after hearing this. Time could annihilate a lot of things. 200 or 300 years was enough for the white energy stone to be annihilated in the tide of history. Because, let alone 200 or 300 years, even 100 years was enough for many people to forget these things. However, it wasn't surprising that Little 11 and the others knew about white energy stones. The 5 Elements sect was the first sect to contact the Bubbly clan, so it was likely that the 5 Elements sect still had some white energy stones in stock. It was no wonder that Little 11 was disdainful of them. If that's the case, then this thing belongs to the Bubbly clan. Does that mean that even if I go to the Hakanamada Desert and find the location on this map, it won't do me any good, and I won't be able to get the white energy stones? After hearing this, Lin Yi couldn't help but be very disappointed. It seemed that Udake's so-called treasure map might not be a treasure map, but a map of the Bubbly clan's location. The person who originally traded with the Bubbly clan might have obtained a white energy stone and a map from them, and wanted to exchange it later. But these 2 things somehow fell into the hands of Udake, making him mistakenly think that they were good things. That's not necessarily true. Because so many years have passed, maybe the Bubbly clan has found a new energy stone mine. It's just that there has been no trade for so many years, and the remaining cultivation resources in their hands are enough, so they have not come to trade again. Boss Bai waved his hand and said, so, if you have this with you, there is no harm in going to take a look. I see. In that case, I should really try my luck. After listening, Lin Yi nodded and said, yes, the Bubbly clan is relatively easy to deal with. For them, as long as you pay enough price and sincerity, they will also return the favor. Boss Bai said, in that case, thank you, Teacher Bai. It's getting late, I'll go back first. After getting the answer he wanted, Lin Yi did not stay any longer. After all, it was already very late. Okay, I won't see you off. Boss Bai paused here and said, I heard about the matter of the Dark Knight Palace. It should be related to Xianchen. You should be careful. I know. Lin Yi had already suspected Kong Mingming before. At this time, when Boss Bai said this, Lin Yi was even more sure that this matter was caused by ancestor Xianchen and Kong Mingming. Chapter 33:19. So, all the second-grade medicinal cauldrons we've made before are in vain? Kong Mingming's whole body was like a balloon that had been sucked dry, and his whole body went limp on the ground. One had to know that this was his entire stake. The idea was good. If he could seize the source of raw materials from Lin Yi, he would not be afraid that Lin Yi would not cooperate with him obediently. But what about now? Lin Yi had replaced the second-grade medicinal cauldrons, and all the second-grade medicinal cauldrons produced by Kong Mingming were useless. Not only was it a waste of manpower and material resources, but most importantly, the Five Elements sect did not have the capital to cooperate with Lin Yi anymore. If there is no accident, it should be like this. Ancestor Xianxin was originally powerless when it came to business matters. Now that this had happened, he had no idea what to do. However, he did not blame Kong Mingming. After all, he was the one who had made the decision in the beginning. Now that there was a problem, he also had a lot of responsibility. If there is no accident, father-in-law, why don't we give him an accident? When Kong Mingming said this, his face flashed a touch of ferociousness. Lin Yi, you forced me to do this. Since you don't know how to appreciate favors and don't cooperate with us, then don't blame me for fighting to the death with you. An accident? How can there be an accident? Ancestor Xianxin was originally at his wit's end, but after hearing Kong Mingming's words, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he quickly asked, isn't Lin Yi going to the Hakanamata Desert to find the Bubbly clan? Kong Mingming said, Father-in-law, you should have the contact information of the Bubbly clan, right? Boss Bai also said that as long as we pay enough sincerity and bargaining chips, the Bubbly clan will return the favor. In this case, why don't we make the first move and let the Bubbly clan refuse to cooperate with Lin Yi and refuse to sell the white energy stones to Lin Yi? In this way, I'm afraid that Lin Yi's plan of the first grade and second grade automatic medicinal cauldrons will come to an end. It's not impossible, but if we do this, even if Lin Yi doesn't produce the first grade and second grade automatic medicinal cauldrons, and only produces the existing second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons and replaces them with new materials, we still have no competitiveness. Ancestor Xianxin did not have Kong Mingming's business sense, so he did not understand Kong Mingming's meaning. It's like this. As long as there are no white energy stones, they can only produce the current second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons. Even if they replace the materials of the medicinal cauldrons, the function will still be the same, right? Kong Mingming paused and continued, as long as this is the case, we will have the strength to compete. Now, our Heavenly Elixir sect also has a second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron on the market. When the time comes, we can let Dr. Benjamin too imitate it. It should be possible to imitate it. It's just a matter of time. At that time, we will also sell and compete with them. In this way, we don't have to worry about those second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons not being sold. Good idea. Ancestor Xianxin nodded. Although he was not as smart as Kong Mingming in business matters when it came to ruthlessness, he was even worse than Kong Mingming. He thought for a while and came up with a more ruthless method. If Lin Yi dies, then this medicinal cauldron will be sold exclusively by our Heavenly Elixir sect in the future. At that time, we can earn as much money as we want. Oh, father-in-law, you want to get rid of Lin Yi? When Kong Mingming heard this, he was pleasantly surprised. But Lin Yi's strength is there. Wasn't he able to instantly kill a peak late heaven rank expert? Who should we send to kill Lin Yi? Us? We don't need to do it. Elder Xianxin shook his head and chuckled. The Bubbly clan isn't weak. As far as I know, they already have 3 experts at the peak of the late stage of heaven rank. Now, I'm afraid they have even more. Let them test the waters and get rid of Lin Yi. It's a good idea. Now, no one knows if Lin Yi can fight against a peak late heaven rank great perfection expert. So, With the Bubbly clan taking action, it will save me a lot of probing. Moreover, even if we fail, we won't lose anything. That's a good idea. I didn't expect the Bubbly clan to be so formidable, but father-in-law, can they make a move? Kong Ming Ming was confident that the Bubbly clan wouldn't make a deal with Lin Yi, but he wasn't confident that they would be able to get rid of Lin Yi. So he couldn't help but worry. We have to give it a try. Ancestor Xianxin pondered for a moment and said, how about this, you make a move now. Go to the Bubbly clan and negotiate with them with my keepsake. I have to go personally? Kong Ming Ming was stunned. The Bubbly clan hasn't contacted the cultivation world in the Central Plains for 200 to 300 years. I don't have any way to contact them. After all, there were no telephones at that time, and the messenger pigeons that specialize in delivering letters are all dead. If I don't go personally, I really have no way to contact them. Ancestor Xianxin said, but don't worry. The Bubbly clan's earliest emissary to the Central Plains contacted our five-element sect. If you go with the identity of a disciple of our five-element sect, they won't make things difficult for you. That's good. Kong Ming Ming thought that if he could get Lin Yi to die, so what if he had to travel all the way to the Hakanamada Desert? As long as Lin Yi was dead, it would be worth it no matter how tiring it was. If that's the case, pack your things and leave tomorrow. Ancestor Xianxin ordered. The next morning, Kong Ming Ming packed his things and set off for the Hakanamada Desert with little Lin Yi. Actually planned to leave in a few days, but who would have thought that something big would happen at this time, forcing Lin Yi to stop for a while. He canceled his plan to go to the Hakanamada Desert and stayed in East Sea City. Xinyan had fainted. She'd fainted without any warning. In fact, it was very simple. That morning, Shu was supposed to wake up with Wang Xinyan to eat breakfast made by Lin Yi, but Wang Xinyan was still sound asleep. At first, Shu didn't think much of it. She went downstairs alone. After all, it wasn't a big deal for Wang Xinyan to sleep in. In Shu's opinion, it might be because Lin Yi just came back last night, and Wang Xinyan was a little excited. The two chatted for a long time in the middle of the night before going to bed. So, when Lin Yi didn't see Wang Xinyan, he asked Shu. Shu said that Wang Xinyan slept late last night and didn't wake up. Lin Yi didn't think much of it. Chapter 33:20. Wang Xinyan was a very disciplined person. She'd wake up by now even if she was sleeping late, unless she was sick. Shu, go upstairs and have a look. Why isn't Xi and Yen up yet? Lin Yi didn't realize that something was wrong yet. He was just curious. Yushu didn't think there was anything wrong with that. She went upstairs and saw that Xinyan was still sound asleep. She pushed her a few times, but Xinyan didn't wake up. She pushed her a few more times, but Xinyan didn't move at all. Yushu started to panic. It wasn't like this hadn't happened to Xinyan before, but it was a long time ago. Lin Yi had gotten the medicine from the Snowy Valley, and Xinyan was no different from a normal person after using it. Shu was relieved, but now it seemed like Xinyan was acting up again. Shield bro. Xiao Shu hurriedly ran out of the room and stood at the staircase on the second floor of the villa, shouting, "Oh no, Sister Xi Yen fainted again." What? Lin Yi, who was washing the dishes in the kitchen, paused and ran up to the second floor. Wang Xinyan fainted again? What happened? Lin Yi didn't have time to talk to Shu. He rushed into the bedroom and put his hand on Xinyan's wrist. Lin Yi frowned. Lin Yi was a doctor. There was no way he wouldn't be able to tell that Xinyan was in a coma. But why was Xinyan unconscious? At this moment, Lin Yi could clearly feel that Xinyan's life force was weakening. Could it be that the jade orchid grass wasn't working anymore? Or could it be that the amount he took last time was not enough? But that was impossible. Old Lin said it before. As long as there was jade orchid grass, Xinyan would be fine. How could there be a problem? But the truth was right in front of him. Lin Yi couldn't question it. So after a moment of silence, Lin Yi decisively dialed old Lin's number. Congratulations, Lil E. You've been improving pretty fast, haven't you? Old Lin also learned from the Bloodcloth Underworld sect that Lin E could now instantly kill a peak late-stage heaven rank expert. He was very gratified. It seemed that Lin E had dodged another calamity. He grew up in the midst of the calamity. Old man, let's talk about this later. I have something more important to discuss with you. Lin E wasn't in the mood to exchange pleasantries with Old Man Lin. If it was any other time, he would have told Old Man Lin about his experiences. But now, because of Wang Xinyan, Lin E didn't want to waste precious time. Oh, Lin Dongfang was slightly taken aback and said solemnly, "What happened?" Wang Xinyan fainted again. Lin E said straightforwardly, "I checked her body just now, and the vitality in her body is gradually decreasing. What's going on?" The orchid jade grass from before. Didn't they say that Wang Xinyan's problem was completely cured? Why did she faint? Fainted again? Lin Dongfang's brows suddenly furrowed. He was very clear about Wang Xinyan's situation because he was the one who personally diagnosed and treated Wang Xinyan. He just didn't expect that Wang Xinyan would have this situation again, born weak and sickly. Took the orchid jade grass. Wait. Lin Dongfang's expression suddenly changed. He seemed to have thought of something, and a flash of inspiration flashed across his mind, but he couldn't grasp these two keywords. It opened up Lin Dongfang's sealed memories, and it made him think of some things when he was young, some things with Lin Yi's master, Yang Ming, when he was roaming the world. Those people, those things, yes. Lin Dongfang stood up abruptly. He thought of something very important. Although he didn't dare to confirm it immediately, from Wang Xinyan's situation, it seemed to be very close. Lin Dongfang was silent, and Lin Yi could feel his rapid breathing. Lin Yi knew that old Lin must be thinking about something, so he didn't disturb him and waited quietly. As expected, after a while, Lin Dongfang's voice sounded again. "Lil Yi, Wang Xinyan's situation made me think of something, but I can't be sure. How about this? I need to look up some information. Wait for my call." "Then how do we save Xinyan now?" Lin Yi asked. "Don't worry about her for now. In this situation, her life is not in danger, if my guess is correct." At this point, Lin Dongfang's tone slowed down. Then he said solemnly, "If my guess is wrong, then I don't know what's going on with her. If that's the case, then I'm even more helpless. So you better wait for my news." All right. Although Lin Yi was worried, since old Lin had already said this, Lin Yi also knew that there was no other way. The only thing left was to wait. Time passed minute by minute. Although it was only a short 10 minutes since he hung up the phone, Lin Yi felt like it was a year. Xiao Shu also looked anxious. "Shield bro, Xinyansis, is it also an inheritance?" Inheritance? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. Now, according to what Lin Yi knew, there were 7 inheritors of the 5 elements and 7 attributes. Among them were Xiao Xiao, Xiao Shu, Yao Yao, and Little Jiu. There were still 3 missing. Could Wang Xinyan be one of them? Although Lin Yi felt that it was possible, through his contact with Wang Xinyan, Lin Yi didn't feel that Wang Xinyan had any special attributes, but he didn't rule out the possibility that this attribute was hidden and just activated. But this possibility was very small because Wang Xinyan's fainting problem wasn't new. She had been weak since she was young. So Lin Yi shook his head. Although there is a possibility, but it's not big. Let's wait for my grandpa's news. Okay, Yushu said casually, and the 2 guarded Wang Xinyan's side, quietly waiting for the news. Half an hour passed like a year for Lin Yi, and Lin Dongfang finally called. "Old man, how is it? Is there any news?" Lin Yi quickly picked up the phone when he heard the ringtone. "Lil Yi, if I'm not wrong, Wang Xinyan's physique is similar to someone I've met before," Lin Dongfang said slowly. Chapter 33:21. I don't know what it's called. And that person didn't know either, but she called it the sponge body. Lin Dongfang said, "Sponge body? What does that mean?" Lin Yi didn't understand. Is it a type of practitioner's body? You could say that it's called a sponge body, but it's just a metaphor. Old man, Lin explained, the so-called sponge is very absorbent, but there are a number of holes on it. So the leakage is also very strong. In other words, the human body is like a sponge. It can absorb a large amount of spiritual energy, but it can also be like squeezing a sponge, squeezing out the water inside, which is the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It is reversible. You're saying that Wang Xinyan has this type of body? Lin Yi thought about it. It really was the case. There seemed to be some energy in Xinyan's body that could be absorbed by him, and Xinyan herself could absorb the qi from her jade pendant and store it in her body. That should be it. Lin Dongfang nodded. Back then, I had a friend sister who had this type of body as well. Practitioners with this type of body would be able to level up very quickly if they had the right chance and enough qi. They'd be able to go from a normal person to sky class late phase peak in a matter of months. Of course, the time would be different depending on the qi in the air. Then Xinyan. Lin Yi was shocked by the speed of a person with this kind of constitution, but he was more worried about Xinyan's body condition. Xinyan was already fainting. What was the point of training? Xinyan's body, it's the same as that person's triggered by the orchid jade grass. Lin Dongfang said, "It's because of the grass that I thought of this. Old man, it doesn't matter if I know or not. What I want to know is, what should Xinyan do now?" Lin Yi asked. To be honest, Lin Dongfang smiled bitterly. "I don't know either." "Ah? You don't know either?" Lin Yi was stunned and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Then where can I find your friend's sister?" "She has already left for now. You won't be able to find her." But Lin Dongfang said, what I can tell you is that this kind of physique, without the coordination of mental cultivation method and mnemonic chant, can also absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to wake up and recover on its own. Within a year, there won't be too much danger to his life. However, without the mantra, one cannot become a cultivator. That's not important. The most important thing is to stay alive. Lin Yi was relieved after listening. "Don't you know that? You scared me to death." "That's just what I heard. I don't know if it works or not." Lin Dongfang said helplessly, "Moreover, do you think it's so easy to find a place with abundant spiritual energy, a place with abundant heaven and earth spiritual qi? Can't those ancient sects do?" Lin Yi asked after thinking for a while. "It was possible in the past, but I'm afraid it's not possible now," Lin Dongfang said. "The spiritual energy is getting thinner and thinner. It's not enough for her to absorb anymore." "Is that so?" Lin Yi felt helpless. Old Lin was right. A place with abundant heaven and earth spiritual qi was hard to find. Lin Yi had a ready-made place, but only Lin Yi could enter that place. Wang Xinyan couldn't go in. The jade space could be used for storage, but it didn't work on living beings. He couldn't kill Wang Xinyan and put her in, could he? That person was dead. What was the use of putting her in? But don't be disappointed. That person may have left, but her sister, my friend, is still here. Go ask her, and you'll get the answers you want. Lin Dongfang sighed and said, "I didn't plan to contact her for the rest of my life. But for you, it seems that some things must be faced." "Old man, what are you talking about?" Lin Yi was confused by Lin Dongfang's words. He didn't know what Lin Dongfang meant. "Nothing." Old Lin shook his head. "Go. When you see her, tell her that you're my descendant. I believe she won't make things difficult for you and will answer your questions." Chapter 33:22. But this time was different. The beast was very fast, and it only took one night for Lin Yi's group to arrive at the town. The familiar town. Everything that had happened half a year ago was still fresh in their minds, as if it had happened yesterday. Lin Yi was only a mystic back then, not even an Earth class, but now Lin Yi was a Sky class mid-phase. Ice Spirit in, Lin Yi didn't disguise, he carried Xinyan and the purple thunderbolt beast on his back as they walked into the inn's lobby. The Ice Spirit Inn was usually uninhabited when the Ice Palace trials weren't being held. Shopkeeper Li was here every day, but his job was to collect letters from the common world. He knew that someone had entered the inn when he heard footsteps and looked up curiously to see who it was. Shopkeeper Li, long time no see. Do you still remember me? Lin Yi was no longer as cautious and timid as before, but looked at Shopkeeper Li calmly with a smile. You're Lin Yi. Shopkeeper Li jumped, not expecting Lin Yi to suddenly visit the Ice Palace. Shopkeeper Li knew that Lin Yi wasn't called Ling Yi, but he also knew what had happened in the Dark Palace a while ago. Lin Yi had killed a Sky-class late-phase peak all by himself and injured 2 Sky-class late-phase peaks. What kind of accomplishment was that? This was still unconfirmed, and there were still people who doubted it. But just the fame that Lin Yi had built up in the past was enough for Elderly to look up to. Lin Yi was a Sky-class mid-phase, and Elderly couldn't even hope to catch up to him. The world of practitioners was a world where strength was everything. At this moment, Shopkeeper Li no longer had the arrogant attitude he had when he first met Lin Yi. He quickly stood up from his seat. Welcoming Lin Yi. "Haha, it's me. It seems like Shopkeeper Li's memory is quite good." Lin Yi laughed. "Young hero Lin, may I know why you've come to our Ice Palace?" Shopkeeper Li asked carefully. "It's nothing. It's been more than half a year. I really miss the people here, so I came over to have a look. Is Ice Palace's rock candy here?" Lin Yi asked. Ice candy chick?" Manager Li was speechless. What kind of a dress was that? Only Lin Yi would dare to use it. If it was someone else, they would have died countless times. But Elderly didn't dare to say anything. He could only say carefully, "The Ice Palace Master is in the Ice Palace. Young hero Lin, do you want me to inform the Palace Master to come and welcome you?" He had to be humble. Lin Yi's current strength was there for all to see. Rock Candy came out to welcome him. He was fully qualified. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He was just joking casually. Why did Manager Li let Rock Candy come out to greet him? All of a sudden, Lin Yi felt a little emotional. Half a year ago, Rock Candy looked down on him. She didn't even want to see him, but now, why would she come out to greet him? With that thought, Lin Yi's bad taste rose. He said faintly to Manager Li, "All right, tell her to come and greet me." "Yes." Shopkeeper Li nodded. He didn't think there was anything wrong with this. After all, Lin Yi had the strength to do so, and even a normal Sky class would have the right to meet the Sect Master. But what surprised Lin Yi was that Manager Li didn't use a pigeon this time. He took out a satellite phone. Lin Yi was very surprised. "Your Ice Palace doesn't need pigeons anymore? Why did you change it to a phone?" "Ahem. Well, the Ice Palace Master actually likes these high-tech products under Vice Palace Master Feng's influence," Manager Li explained. He knew the relationship between Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao, so he didn't hide it. "Oh," Lin Yi nodded. Manager Li's phone went through as well, and Rock Candy's voice sounded. "Manager Li, what's up?" "Palace Master Lin Yi. Young Master Lin has come to our Ice Spirit Tavern. He's heading to the Ice Palace. Do you want to greet him personally?" Manager Li asked carefully. "Who's here?" "Lin Yi?" Rock Candy paused, not expecting Lin Yi to come to the Ice Palace. She was a little annoyed and embarrassed. Was Lin Yi here to show off? She remembered that she had promised him that when he had the strength of a Sky class late phase peak or became a mystic first level refiner, she would be his little wife. But now that Lin Yi was here, did he want her to fulfill that promise? Naturally, Rock Candy knew about Lin Yi's exploits in the Dark Palace. He killed a Sky class late phase peak in one hit, So while Lin Yi was only Sky Class mid-phase, from what Lin Yi had shown, Lin Yi was at least Sky Class late-phase peak. How else would he be able to kill a Sky Class late-phase peak in one hit? So naturally, Rock Candy thought that Lin Yi was here to show off, asking her to greet him? Dream on. Humph. Don't think I don't know who the Dark Palace Master Meng Yao is. Was it that hard to ask her to make up a rumor? And so, Rock Candy got even angrier. Greet him? I won't even meet him, much less greet him. With that, Crystal Candy hung up the phone, leaving behind an innocent and nervous shopkeeper. Lee, was she trying to piss Lin Yi off? But she pissed off Lin Yi, and now she had to face him. What a trap, but Manager Lee didn't dare to complain. He could only smile bitterly at Lin Yi. Young hero Lin, the palace master has something to do. Okay, I heard everything. Lead the way. Bring me to the Ice Palace. Lin Yi waved his hand, not minding at all. After all, Rock Candy and Lin Yi were old acquaintances. Although her arrogance and disdain made Lin Yi unhappy, Rock Candy had helped him before, and they were quite close. Naturally, he wouldn't get angry over that. Okay. Manager Lee let out a breath of relief. It seemed like Lin Yi was easy to talk to, but Manager Lee found it weird. The last time Lin Yi came, he was carrying someone, and now that he was the Vice Palace Master of the Ice Palace, he was carrying someone again. Was Lin Yi addicted to carrying people? Did he bring someone every time he came to the Ice Palace? Or did Lin Yi carry someone every time he went out? What kind of habit was that? But no matter what, Manager Lee didn't dare ask anything. He carefully walked in front, bringing Lin Yi towards the Ice Palace. Chapter 33:23. Instead, it was a relatively easy path to take. After all, Mystic Division Masters didn't have the ability to fly, but Earth Division and Heaven Division Masters were different. Their Qigong level was greatly improved, especially Heaven Division Masters. This time, Shopkeeper Lee didn't bring Lin Yi around in circles, choosing the shortest path. He knew that for a master like Lin Yi, this so-called secret path for the Ice Palace was bullshit. His senses were extremely strong, and going around in circles in front of him was just asking for trouble. The two of them walked toward the direction of the Ice Palace. Up ahead is the Ice Palace's territory. Hero Lin, when we get there, could you wait in the waiting room at the entrance? I'll go report this to the sect master. Shopkeeper Lee was in a difficult situation. He didn't dare bring Lin Yi into the Ice Palace without Crystal Candy coming out to welcome him. Of course. Lin Yi nodded faintly. No matter what, Ice Palace was Xiao Xiao's Vice Palace Master, and he didn't need to treat them as an enemy. If Crystal Candy's pride was acting up, he'd let her do it. Lin Yi acted like he didn't see it. Thank you for your understanding, Hero Lin. Shopkeeper Lee breathed in relief. Ha! Lin Yi smiled and didn't say anything else. But as the two neared the Ice Palace gates, Shopkeeper Lee was about to speak to Lin Yi when an arrogant figure appeared in front of the gates at lightning speed. Lin Yi didn't go full speed in order to take care of Shopkeeper Lee's speed, and so the figure just appeared in front of the gates, not caring about Lin Yi and Shopkeeper Lee at all. Who's this? Lin Yi frowned. There was someone this unruly in the Ice Palace? He'd never heard of a strong male elder in the Ice Palace. Ah, you don't know him? Shopkeeper Lee was a bit confused as to where this person had come from. Since when did the Ice Palace have someone like this? From the looks of it, he was a master? Lin Yi thought that this was someone from the Ice Palace, but Shopkeeper Lee said that he didn't know him. Only then did Lin Yi take a closer look at the person who'd walked to the Ice Palace's entrance. Lin Yi jumped in shock when he saw who it was. This person was a Sky Class late phase peak. He was on the same level as Crystal Candy, and a man at that. This person was most likely not from the Ice Palace, because the experts from the Ice Palace were not men, they were all women. From the looks of it, this person did not come with good intentions. What confused Lin the most was that this person looked familiar from the back. Lin felt like he'd seen him somewhere before, but from the back, Lin couldn't tell where this person was from. So, this person isn't from the Ice Palace? Lin stopped and didn't rush forward. He wanted to see the situation first. After all, Lin came to the Ice Palace for something important. If this person was here to cause trouble, then Lin had to think about how to deal with it. Of course, a sky-class late phase peak like this wasn't something that Lin cared about, but Lin was afraid that this person was just a vanguard, and there would be others following behind. It wasn't strange for Lin to be doubtful. After all, it wasn't very realistic for someone to cause trouble in the Ice Palace alone. Crystal Candy was also a sky-class late phase peak, and just her alone was enough to deal with this person. Although he couldn't kill the person who came, it wasn't realistic for the person to want to commit crimes. So Lin decided to see the situation first. Yes, I don't know him. Young warrior Lin. What should we do now? Shopkeeper Lee saw that Lin had stopped. He didn't know what Lin was thinking, so he asked, "We're not going? Since there's a guest here, then we'll wait." Who asked him to run so fast? Lin said lightly. Okay. Shopkeeper Lee couldn't tell what Lin was really implying either. Lin's tone was calm, and he didn't know if it was because he really cared about etiquette, letting the customer go first, or if it was because he was unhappy that the customer had gone first. While Shopkeeper Lee was guessing, the sky-class late phase peak master spoke. "Where's Crystal Candy? Come out and greet our 5 elements sex messenger." This person's voice was very profound. Once he opened his mouth, it was like a great bell. The entire Ice Palace could hear the shocking voice. If it was before, Lin would be quite envious of this. But now, it was just a small trick in Lin Yi's eyes. However, the words spoken by this person made Lin Yi's eyes sharpen, and a flash of light flashed through his eyes. The envoy of the 5 elements sect. So, this person was on Xianqian ancestor's side. Now, Lin finally understood why this person looked so familiar to him. This person's dressing was very similar to the group of robbers that went to the Dark Palace, but was that all? The thought flashed through Lin Yi's mind, but he didn't think too much about it. This familiarity could only be a minor detail. What was the real reason? Because this person's voice was also familiar to Lin Yi. However, no matter what, this person was undoubtedly from the 5 elements sect. In that case, the 3 robbers who were injured and killed by him before were probably also disciples of the 5 elements sect. In this way, Ancestor Xianqian was going to vomit blood, right? His 3 disciples were like this because of him, 1 dead and 2 disabled. It should be known that even in the 5 elements sect, there weren't that many heaven stage experts. In the ancient times, the number of heaven stage experts was only in the double digits, including those from overseas and foreign lands. There were probably less than 200 heaven stage experts. How could the 5 elements sect not feel heartache after losing 3 of their heaven stage experts? Crystal Candy was waiting for Elder Lee to bring Lin over. She was thinking, if Lin mentioned the little mistress promise, how should she respond? Well, if Lin mentioned it, then she would make a move. She would let her know that rumors stop with the wise. Colluding with the Dark Palace to make up a story about killing a peak late-stage heaven stage master and crippling 2 peak late-stage heaven stage masters. Would anyone believe such a rumor? Even an absolute realm master wouldn't be able to kill a peak late-stage heaven stage master so quickly, right? Chapter 33:24. But what Bingtang didn't expect was that someone was shouting outside the Ice Palace. Who had the guts to do that? Could it be Lin Yi? But what surprised Bingtang was that it didn't seem to be Lin Yi's voice. Moreover, he said that he was the messenger of the 5 elements sect. What was the messenger of the 5 elements sect doing here? But no matter who he was, Bingtang couldn't just ignore him. The name of the 5 elements sect was there, and the relationship between the Ice Palace and the Five Elements sect was unclear. Bing Tang also vaguely knew who was supporting the Heavenly Elixir sect, so she had to meet this person. Thinking of this, Bing Tang didn't hesitate. She flew out of her room and floated towards the entrance of the Ice Palace. Ice Palace Master, you're so arrogant. You made me wait here for so long, and now you're coming out? Could it be that you don't put our Five Elements sect in your eyes? The Five Elements sect's emissary asked arrogantly. The messenger of the Five Elements sect? What business do you have with our Ice Palace? Bing Tang glanced at the strength of the messenger. She knew that he was only at the peak of the late phase of Heaven stage. He was on the same level as her. Naturally, she wouldn't be too polite. After all, she was the leader of an ancient sect. It was good enough that he came to greet her personally. Humph! Bing Tang, I won't talk nonsense with you. What do you think about the marriage with the Heavenly Elixir sect? Do you agree or not? The messenger of the Five Elements sect shouted. He came here to confirm this matter. Ancestor Xianxin was in a bad mood after being humiliated by Lin Yi. He suddenly remembered the matter of the Ice Palace. So, he sent his disciple, Little Six, to the Five Elements sect. That's right, this Little Six was that old Six who stopped Lin Yi on the Wulongheo mountain range back then. Old 12 had been killed, but Old 6 was still fine. It was just that he had messed things up back then, and Patriarch Xianxin had made him think about it behind closed doors for a period of time. Now that Little 3, Little 4, and Little 5 were dead, and Tagon Long had recovered, Little 6 could return to the world. This was the first task he had done since he returned to the world. He had been cooped up in his room for a long time, so he was naturally in a bad mood. So he vented it on Rock Candy. One had to know that this engagement was something that Patriarch Black Earth valued the most and was of utmost importance. In order to carry out the plan, he would have to convince the successors to agree to the marriage. Otherwise, it would be difficult to guarantee that they would not have any selfish motives. If that happened, he would be doomed eternally. Rock Candy's matter had been dragged on for a long time, and the Xianxin ancestor sent Little Six here for two reasons. 1. To give the Ice Palace's exit a good beating with Lin Yi, and 2. To test Rock Candy's attitude and see if the heir was Xiao Xiao or Rock Candy. Hearing Little Six talk about the engagement, Rock Candy's expression changed instantly. Anger surged on her face. It's really your Five Elements sect's doing. I was wondering what was going on with this engagement. Why is the Sky Elixir sect so domineering? So it's because you guys are supporting them. Supporting? So what? Rock Candy, who do you think you are? You're just a palace master of the Ice Palace. Do you think that if it wasn't for the fact that the Ice Palace is a subsidiary of our Five Elements sect, you would have the status you have now? Others would be afraid of you? Give you face? Dream on. If you go against our Five Elements sect, I guarantee that the Ice Palace will be destroyed. Little Six was here to vent his anger. First, it was his anger, and second, it was the Xianxin ancestors' anger. So, he was arrogant and didn't care. At this time, Xiao Xiao also rushed over. Rock Candy could hear Little Six shout, so naturally Xiao Xiao could hear it too. As the Vice Palace Master of the Ice Palace, she had to show up out of etiquette when a guest came to visit. But she had just reached Sky Class early phase and wasn't as strong as Rock Candy, so she was slower. She thought that it was some kind of friendly guest, but she didn't expect to hear Little Six words as soon as she arrived. Xiao Xiao's face changed. Who is Xiao Xiao? She used to be one of the 4 big bullies of Songshan's first school. One could imagine her temper. Naturally, she wasn't happy that someone was causing trouble in front of the Ice Palace. As the Vice Palace Master of the Ice Palace, if she didn't fight back, then where would the Ice Palace's face go? Plus, there were many times when Rock Candy couldn't speak up, and she had to speak up. This was related to the Ice Palace's honor. If Rock Candy spoke up, then they might start fighting, but if Xiao Xiao spoke up, then there was still some leeway. This was the difference between the palace masters and vice palace masters. They could attack and defend. Who are you? Old man. Senior Sister Rock Candy is my husband's little wife. What engagement? Is there something wrong with you, old thing? Xiao Xiao frowned. Your husband? Little Six paused. He didn't know Xiao Xiao, but he saw that she was just a sky class early phase, so he didn't think much of her. She wasn't someone powerful, and Rock Candy was someone's little wife. Why didn't he know about this? It was just an excuse to reject the engagement. With that thought, Little Six wasn't afraid anymore. He didn't dare hit Rock Candy, but he could hit Xiao Xiao, an elder. That's right, in his eyes. Xiao Xiao was just a normal elder of the Ice Palace. After all, no one had ever heard that Xiao Xiao was Rock Candy's junior sister. Didn't Rock Candy's master leave the Ice Palace a long time ago? Where would she find a disciple? This person in front of him wasn't Xiao Xiao, then. And so, Little Six glared and raised his hand, slapping at Xiao Xiao's face. Of course, he didn't want to kill her. He just wanted to teach her a lesson. Little bitch, how dare you yell in front of me? I'll slap you to death. Don't you dare. Bing-Tang jumped in fright and quickly pulled Xiao Xiao to the side. But Little Six was a sky-class late phase peak after all, and his palm was already swinging out. Xiao Xiao dodged it because of Bing-Tang, but the wind from the palm still hit Bing-Tang, tearing a couple of holes in her white shirt. But even so, Rock Candy didn't dare say anything. If it was someone from the Sky Elixir sect here, she would fight them, but against someone from the Five Elements sect, she really didn't dare. Rock Candy's face was red as she glared at Little Six. Chapter 33:25. Yesterday's chapter has been revised. Everyone can go back and read it again. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow path. Back then, Lin was afraid of him, Patriarch Xianchen. But now, since Lin had already killed a few of Patriarch Xuanchen's people and made Little 11th miserable, how could Lin let Little 7 go back in one piece? Who? Xiao Qi was shocked. He didn't expect someone to be so arrogant. He was the high and mighty emissary of the Five Elements sect, the disciple of Patriarch Xianchen, so he was furious at that moment. What a yawning toad! What arrogance! Xiao Qi heard Lin Yi's voice, and so did Bing-Tang and Xiao Xiao. Their faces changed slightly. Bing-Tang was a little annoyed that Lin was calling her Lil, 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 Lil. If Lin stood up for them, wouldn't that just draw the hatred onto the Ice Palace? Rock Candy didn't think that Lin had the ability to face the Five Elements sect alone. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was different. She was overjoyed to see Lin, even forgetting that the Ice Palace was in trouble. It had been a long time since she'd seen Lin, and she missed him a lot. She rushed into Lin Yi's arms and hugged him tight. Lin, honey, you came to see me. You're Lin? Little Six's face changed upon hearing this. However, it wasn't because he was afraid of Lin, He didn't know that Little 3, Little 4, and Little 5 had died at Lin Yi's hands. After all, Xiao San, Xiao Si, and Xiao Wu were secretly carrying out Ancestor Xuanchen's orders to pretend to be robbers. Such a thing was very disgraceful. Even within the Five Elements sect, Ancestor Xianchen could not speak of it, in case it reached the ears of Ancestor Xianzhen or Boss Bai. Plus, when the three returned, one was dead and two were injured. Ancestor Xianchen wouldn't speak of such a shameful thing, and it would weaken his morale. Therefore, Xiao Qi didn't know the specifics of this matter. He only knew that 3 of his senior brothers were killed or crippled during a mission, but he didn't know who killed them. Although this matter was shocking, Xiao Qi also knew the rules. He shouldn't ask about things he shouldn't ask. Of course, if time was longer, Shao Qi would still be able to hear some clues from other people's mouths. After all, this matter could not be hidden for a long time. However, time was short, and he was directly assigned a mission by old ancestor Xianqin. Therefore, Shao Qi didn't know about Lin Yi's heroic deeds at all. His memory was still at the Wulanhate mountain range, when Lin Yi killed Old 12 and Intertagon Dragon. "So it's you, Lin Yi kid. What an arrogant tone. I let you escape back in Wulongheot Mountains. This time, I'll kill you first to avenge my 12th brother and tag on long." Shao Qi smiled coldly. He didn't expect that there would be an unexpected harvest this time. If the culprit of the Wulongheot Mountains, Lin Yi, could be killed, then his contribution would be great. Shao Qi also knew that his position was not very outstanding among the disciples of the Five Elements sect. There were 6 senior brothers above him, but it was different now. Other than Shao Yi and Shao Er, there was only him. If he made a contribution this time, then the Xianqin ancestor would definitely think highly of him, right? Thinking of this, Shao Qi was determined to kill Lin Yi here and now. Is that so? Then let's see who dies first. A smile flashed across the corner of Lin Yi's mouth. As soon as he finished speaking, he put Xiao Xiao to the side and activated the mantra. The 11th move of the Frenzy 8 trigram palm was used, and it hit Shao Qi's chest. Shao Qi raised his vigilance towards Lin Yi's palm, but he didn't care too much. After all, when Lin Yi activated the mantra, he could see that Lin Yi was a Sky-class mid-stage master. Although he was a little surprised that Lin Yi's strength increased so quickly, Shao Qi didn't care more about it. After all, although Lin Yi's strength increased, it was not enough to enter Shao Qi's eyes. He was a master at the peak of the late stage of Sky class. So, Shao Qi calmly activated the mantra and prepared to protect his body with qi, but he didn't dodge. Instead, he prepared to give Lin Yi a critical blow after Lin Yi hit him and fight head-on with Lin Yi. Boom! The 11th form of the Frenzied Fire 8 trigrams palm hit Shao Qi's chest. Shao Qi's expression changed from disdain to shock in less than a second. In the next moment, Shao Qi's body was sent flying and smashed into the walls of the ice palace. There was a deafening sound as he smashed a large hole in the crystal pillars of the ice palace. Shao Qi was shocked, but Crystal Candy and Xiao Xiao were even more shocked. A complicated look flashed in Crystal Candy's eyes. Lin Yi could really kill a Sky-class late-stage peak? How was this possible? Lin Yi's strength was only at the mid-phase of Sky class. How was it possible for him to use such a powerful move? Crystal Candy couldn't believe her own eyes. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was shocked, but she was even happier. Lin Yi was even stronger than before, able to injure a Sky class late-stage peak. Who in the world of practitioners would dare look down on Lin Yi now? Impossible. Shao Qi clutched his chest. He was not dead yet. This was because he had used his true qi to protect his body. However, even if he had used his true qi to protect his body, the 11th move of the Raging Flame 8 trigram palm, coupled with the profound qi necklace, was not something he could resist. Back in the Dark Palace, 1 dead and 2 crippled. They were your fellow disciples, right? I say, Shao Qi, why don't you people from the Five Elements sect learn from your mistakes? Do you think it's fun to get killed by me? Lin Yi looked at 7 and said faintly, what? 3rd senior brother, 4th senior brother, 5th senior brother, did you do it? 7's eyes went wide as he stared at Lin Yi in disbelief. His words, however, revealed the identity of little 3, little 4, and little 5. Lin Yi saw that Shao Qi's dressing was similar to the 3 robbers from the Dark Palace, and so he said it casually. He didn't expect that those 3 were Shao Qi's senior brothers. Haha, this elder Xianqin lost 3 disciples at once, he'd have something to cry about. Oh, no, it was 4. Even if Shao Qi didn't die, he'd be crippled, and so Lin Yi didn't kill him. He thought about it and decided to let him live. Shao Qi, do you know why I held back and didn't kill you? Chapter 33:26. But thinking about it, it was true. Third brother was killed, so if Lin Yi wanted to kill him, it would be a piece of cake. He really was being merciful. Go back and tell Xianxin that he better not get involved in my business. Lin Yi warned coldly. The Ice Palace people are people I want to protect, but if he wants all his disciples to die, that's fine too. He's welcome to come again. Yes, yes. Did little Nine dare to say no now? He could only nod. Scram. Lin Yi waved his hand, telling little Nine to leave. I'll scram now. Thank you for not killing me, Master Lin. Little Nine was very dejected. He came valiantly and left with his tail between his legs, and he even got a heavy injury that couldn't be healed. He'd probably end up like 4 and 5 when he got back. Throughout the whole process, Bingtang didn't say a word. She didn't know what she wanted to say, or what she could say. Lin Yi's strength had truly surpassed Sky-class late-phase peak. Otherwise, how could he kill a Sky-class late-phase peak? Moreover, what happened in the Dark Knight Palace was actually true. With little Nine in front of her, and with him admitting it himself, Bingtang didn't believe it before, but she had to believe it now. Lin Yi. Bingtang wanted to thank Lin Yi, but she couldn't say the word. Bingtang, little wife, we meet again. Lin Yi smiled. Who's your little wife? Bingtang's face reddened, but she suddenly realized that she didn't hate Lin Yi that much anymore. Was it because Lin Yi helped solve the problem? Or did she really worship the strong? Were those words she said in a fit of pique really her criteria for choosing a partner? Ha ha! Lin Yi smiled and didn't tease Bingtang anymore. He and Xiao Xiao had been apart for so long, so naturally his mind was on her. Lin Yi held Xiao Xiao's hand. Xiao Xiao, how have you been this half a year? Are you all right? Not bad. Senior Sister Bingtang is very good to me, and I'm doing well in the Ice Palace, but I really miss Lin Yi, hubby, and Tang. Yao Yao, little Sister Shu. Xiao Xiao almost let it slip. She wasn't as experienced as Meng Yao and Yu Shu, and this was the first time. She saw Lin Yi after Tang Yin left. She almost slipped up. Luckily, Lin Yi didn't mind, as Xiao Xiao changed the topic to Bingtang. Lin Yi, honey, when are you going to marry her? She'll be your little sister then. Ahem. Xiao Xiao, what nonsense are you talking about? Crystal Candy jumped in fright. She thought that Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi were intimate, and she dodged the question for now, but it seemed like that wasn't the case at all. Xiao Xiao remembered it even more clearly than Lin Yi. What puzzled Crystal Candy was that Xiao Xiao wasn't jealous at all. Although everyone was at the ancient level and retained the ancient customs, there was also the concept of jealousy in ancient times, right? There were plenty of fights in the harem. After all, haha, Crystal Candy, you didn't forget your promise, did you? Didn't you say it was nonsense back then? Lin Yi looked at Crystal Candy with a smile that wasn't a smile on his face. He felt as if he was a serf singing a song. How proud was Crystal Candy the last time she came to the Ice Palace. But now, the two were on equal footing, and Lin Yi was even stronger than her. Crystal Candy was speechless. Bingtang didn't know what to say. Yes, she admitted it herself, and she couldn't go back on her words now. She was the master of the Ice Palace, and she couldn't say it out loud. However, she wasn't willing to marry Lin Yi just like that. After all, those were just words she said out of anger, and there was no emotional foundation. She used to look at Lin Yi with a high and mighty attitude, because Lin Yi was a weakling in her eyes. But now he had become the savior of the Ice Palace, and he was even more powerful than Bingtang. How could she accept this in such a short time? But without realizing it, her feelings towards Lin Yi had changed completely. She no longer looked down on Lin Yi, and instead, she was a little afraid. If it was before, she could just find a random reason to avoid Lin Yi's questioning, but now, she didn't dare say anything. Fortunately, Lin Yi didn't mean to make things difficult for her. He got down to business. Bingtang, let's talk about business first. I'll try my best to refine your ice heart jade bone pellet for you, but I also agree to let Xiao Xiao accept the inheritance. Lin Yi's words made Xiao Xiao pause. She didn't understand why Lin Yi would suddenly agree to let her accept the inheritance. After all, Lin Yi's attitude was very firm, and now that Lin Yi had the power to talk to Crystal Candy, he had the power to change things. He compromised. Why was he doing this? Of course, Xiao Xiao hadn't contacted Meng Yao and Yushu in this period of time, so she didn't know what was going on at home. Crystal Candy was confused as well. She didn't understand why Lin Yi would agree to Xiao Xiao's request, even if he was going to make her an ice heart pill. Crystal Candy didn't understand. Crystal Candy, I'm going to say a few words to Xiao Xiao. I hope you won't spread it. Lin Yi looked at Crystal Candy and reminded her, with Crystal Candy's strength, even if Lin Yi went to the side and spoke, she wouldn't be able to hide anything. Who cares? You think I'm that gossipy? Crystal Candy pouted. Lin Yi turned to Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao, before, I was actually very against the idea of being an inheritor because the danger you'll face is unknown, but now, actually the people around me have all become inheritors, and I have to change my mind. I have the power to protect you guys. So you guys are all inheritors, and you're also my girlfriends. Facing danger together, helping each other isn't a bad thing. Xiao Xiao was startled. She thought that Lin Yi already knew about Tang Yun. After all, the person beside Lin Yi was an inheritor, and Lin Yi's girlfriend. Who else could it be other than Tang Yun? Of course, she didn't know that Meng Yao had already left for the Dark Palace. Chapter 33:27. Humph. Crystal Candy humphed, a little pissed off. She knew what kind of person the Grand Elder of Dark Palace was. With Lin Yi's strength, it'd be weird if the Grand Elder didn't try to get on his good side. It's fine. Isn't Senior's sister your little wife? Plus, I don't like dealing with palace stuff. Xiao Xiao didn't mind. But Yao sis is an heir too? That's amazing. But didn't Lin Yi Honey say she's his girlfriend? Don't tell me you and Yao already. Yes, Yao's my girlfriend now. What's even more amazing is that she's the fire heir of Flaming Mountain. She hasn't left yet, but she's not far from it, Lin Yi said. Shu too? Xiao Xiao was completely shocked. She didn't expect Lin Yi to have so many inheritors around him. All of them were connected to Lin Yi. Crystal Candy, on the other hand, was extremely shocked as well. She knew about Meng Yao, but she didn't know about Yushu. She couldn't imagine that Xiao Xiao, Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Yushu were all women who had a close relationship with Lin Yi. And now that they were all inheritors, Lin Yi would be in charge of Sky Class Island. Who asked them to be Lin Yi's people? Yeah, so don't worry, and accept the inheritance. Your training speed should be faster. Lin Yi said. Xiao Xiao was the first to accept the inheritance, but her training speed wasn't that fast. She'd been in the Ice Palace for half a year, and she was only Sky Class early phase, and that was with all the resources in the Ice Palace. How long had Meng Yao been in the Dark Palace? Evidently, accepting the inheritance was different from not accepting it. Okay, I understand. Xiao Xiao nodded and let out a sigh of relief. This was something she had been struggling with for a long time. She knew that there was no such thing as love without a reason. In the Ice Palace, he not only saved her life, he even promised to save her mother, and even gave her all the resources. What was all this for? Wasn't it all to make her an inheritor? But without Lin Yi's approval, Xiao Xiao didn't dare say yes. Now that Lin had confirmed this, she'd be a lot more loyal in the Ice Palace. This is the first thing I came here for. Lin, he said as he pointed at the person on his back. Only then did Xiao Xiao remember that Lin was carrying someone on his back. Xiao Xiao didn't know who it was, but Lin was carrying him here, so something must have happened. You carried Xiao Xiao on your back last time. Don't tell me you need our help this time too? Crystal Candy frowned as she looked at Xinyan on Lin Yi's back. I want to see Aunt Qing alone. Crystal Candy, make the arrangements. Lin Yi didn't explain much because Dongfang had told him to keep a low profile and only say that Dongfang's identity was with Aunt Qing. Don't let too many people know. All right. Crystal Candy was a little helpless at Lin Yi's tone. It was like she was his little girl, asking her to make the arrangements. Don't you know that I'm the sect master of the Ice Palace? You want to see Aunt Qing, and you're not begging me but asking me to make the arrangements? Of course, it was like that to other people, but to Lin now, Crystal Candy didn't have any temper at all. It was like what Lin said all those years ago. A hero shouldn't be afraid of a weak background. You could look down on Lin back then, but you couldn't look down on the current Lin. The winner was the king, and the loser was the thief. If Lin didn't have the strength, he would have been kicked out already. Xiao Xiao paused. She didn't know why Lin wanted to see Aunt Qing alone. Could it be that only Aunt Qing could save the person on Lin Yi's back? She didn't understand, but she knew that Lin wouldn't hide things from her. Maybe it was to avoid Crystal Candy, so she didn't ask. After receiving the message from her disciple, Aunt Qing quickly rushed over. When she heard from her disciple that Lin had crippled an emissary of the Five Elements sect, who was at the peak of the late phase of Heaven Stage, and fled, she was a little surprised. It seemed that the previous rumors were true. Lin really had such strength. But Aunt Qing was different from Crystal Candy. She was happy. She thought highly of Lin and felt that Lin was a person with backbone. Now Lin succeeded, which meant that her judgment was right. Lin you're looking for me? After Aunt Qing arrived, she saw Lin Lin was still the Lin from before. From the appearance, there was no difference. Who would have thought that in half a year there would be such a huge change? Yes, Aunt Qing. Let's find a place to talk alone. Lin nodded. With Lin Yi's words, Crystal Candy couldn't say anything. After Lin and Aunt Qing entered a separate living room, Crystal Candy and Xiao Xiao were together. Naturally, it wouldn't be good for them to eavesdrop. The two went to study the inheritance. Since Xiao Xiao had already agreed, this matter had to be done as soon as possible. Lil I really didn't expect that in just half a year you would have such strength now. I'm really happy for you. Aunt Qing said sincerely, and then her face turned serious. She said seriously, why did you come to see me this time? Aunt Qing, forgive me for being direct. Do you have a sister? Did she leave with Crystal Candy's master? Lin asked slowly. Oh, how did you know? Aunt Qing was very surprised when she heard Lin Yi's question. This matter was only known by a few people in the Ice Palace. No one else knew, so she was very curious. How did Lin hear about it? Even Xiao Xiao didn't know, so it was even more impossible for Lin to know. I have a senior, he told me, and he was the one who told me to come find you. Lin said, Senior? Aunt Qing was a little puzzled. Lin had a senior? Lin Senior knew him? Wasn't Lin a normal solo practitioner? Why was his senior also from the practitioner world? Yes, it's my grandpa. Lin nodded. Your grandpa? Who is he? Aunt Qing was even more curious. His name is Lin Dongfang. Do you know him, Aunt Qing? Although Lin, he was a little puzzled as to what kind of relationship Lin Dongfang had with Aunt Qing, since old Lin told him to come find him, then there must be a reason. So Lin still said it. Chapter 33:28. I say, his name is Lin Dongfang. Do you know him, Aunt Qing? Lin Yi did not expect Aunt Qing to have such a huge reaction. This made him very puzzled. His name is Lin Dongfang? Lin Dongfang is your grandfather? At this moment, Aunt Qing lost her composure. Her eyes were filled with disbelief and shock, but more than that, there was excitement. There was news, there was finally news of him. However, Aunt Qing also had a faint sense of loss. He was married. Of course, his grandson was already so big. Lin Dongfang. It turned out that Lin Yi was not an ordinary wandering cultivator, but a wandering cultivator with a very strong background. Although in the ancient times, it was not uncommon to have a few wives and concubines, Aunt Qing was still not very happy. After all, Lin Dongfang said that with his situation, he could not consider personal issues, not that he did not like Aunt Qing. But now, not only was Lin Dongfang married, but even his grandson was so big. How could Aunt Qing be happy? Wasn't this a lie? So, at this moment, Aunt Qing was a little sad. So, he is already married. So, little E, you are his grandson. No wonder you are a hero. Married? Linny was stunned. Looking at Aunt Qing's resentful gaze, he seemed to think of something and could not help but smile bitterly. Could this be the old man's lover when he was young? However, it wasn't appropriate for a young person like Lin Yi to get involved in these things. He could only tell the truth, Aunt Qing. My grandpa isn't married. I'm an orphan that he adopted. He can be counted as my master, as well as my family. Ah, so that's how it is? Little Qing's originally disappointed eyes suddenly became bright at this moment. The gaze that looked at Lin Yi also became a lot more kind. Lin Yi was Lin Dongfang's godson. Wasn't that the same as her own? It seemed that helping Lin Yi in the past was really the right thing to do. Aunt Qing's voice trembled as she asked, Your grandfather, is he okay? Where is he? I don't know. He used a special method to contact me and told me to find you, but I don't know exactly what he is doing and what he is busy with. Although Lin Yi could see that the relationship between Aunt Qing and Lin Dongfang was definitely not ordinary, in order not to expose Lin Dongfang's whereabouts, he could only lie against his will. Ah, so that's how it is. Aunt Qing sighed. In fact, she had already guessed it. How could Lin Dongfang not have left with them? Grandpa said that it's fine for you to know about this. He doesn't want too many people to know. Lin Yi said, Oh, okay. Aunt Qing was a little surprised. From the looks of it, Lin Yi didn't seem to know Lin Dongfang's power. He also didn't know what Lin Dongfang's grandson represented in the ancient era. If he had told Bingtang about his background, would Bingtang have dared to say those words? Obviously not. And Lin Yi claimed to be a wandering cultivator. A hero doesn't ask about his background. He probably didn't know Lin Dongfang's true strength. Then, it also proved that Lin Dongfang left when Lin Yi was very young. Lin Yi was still ignorant at that time. Aunt Qing, I came to find you this time because of the person on me. As Lin Yi spoke, he put Wang Xinyan on the sofa in the living room and said, I heard that your sister's physique is very similar to hers. Lin Yi didn't say the rest of the sentence because he didn't need to say it. He believed that Aunt Qing could understand what Lin Yi meant. Sure enough, Aunt Qing's expression became serious. She looked at Wang Xinyan on the sofa and said, You said that she also has a sponge physique? Lin Yi nodded slowly and told Aunt Qing about Wang Xinyan's situation from beginning to end in detail. He also emphasized the matter of the orchid jade grass. In that case, if there are no accidents, it should be this kind of physique. After listening, Aunt Qing nodded slowly. You came to find me to find a solution, right? That's right. With this layer of relationship with Lin Dongfang, Lin Yi became closer to Aunt Qing. He spoke more naturally. I heard that Aunt Qing's sister also had this kind of physique. Then, on the road of cultivation, she had extraordinary achievements. Little E, since you are Dongfang's godson, you are the same as my junior. I will spare no effort in this matter to help you. Aunt Ching said. But although I know my sister's situation very well, you have to know that her success can't be replicated. What do you mean? Lin Yi was stunned. Back then, with the help of the Ice Palace's old palace master, my sister found a cultivation ground blessed by the heavens. Coupled with the mantra, she was able to quickly increase her strength and become a peak late-stage heaven realm expert. Annie Ching said, however, that unique training ground contained limited heaven and earth spiritual energy. My sister used up more than half of it. Later, Palace Mistress Bingtang also cultivated there. Together with the cultivation of some disciples, that place was almost the same as an ordinary place. There was nothing special about it. In other words, without a training ground, just the mantra is useless, right? Lin Yi frowned. Yes, Aunt Ching said with certainty. So that's how it is. Lin Yi sighed slightly. This was very similar to what Lin Dongfang expected. In a place with abundant heaven and earth energy, Wang Xinyan could recover. Even if she didn't train, she could still live. But the problem now was, where could they find such a place? Lin Yi pondered for a moment and couldn't help but ask, is there no substitute? Must it be a place with abundant heaven and earth energy? There seems to be another way. Let me think. With that, Aunt Ching closed her eyes and fell into deep thought. Lin Yi didn't dare to disturb her. He quietly waited for Aunt Ching's answer. This was Lin Yi's only hope. Lin Yi didn't think that Wang Xinyan's physique would be so complicated, but no matter what, Wang Xinyan's problem was because of him. If he didn't absorb the fragrance in her body, Wang Xinyan would still be safe. At most, she couldn't expose her physique, and she couldn't become a practitioner. But even if she exposed her physique now, so what? If Wang Xinyan wanted to become a practitioner, she needed a place with abundant heaven and earth energy. It wasn't a place where she could train, just because she wanted to. Chapter 33:29. Energy stones? Are they white? Lin Yi paused and quickly asked, Not bad. It seems like you know about them. I thought you would know about such an ancient thing. I guess it was your grandfather who told you? Aunt Ching thought it was Lin Yi who told her, but Lin Yi didn't explain much. How many white energy stones do you need? Lin Yi listened to Aunt Ching and calmed down a little. He was ready to go to Hakanamada Desert to find the Bubbly clan. If everything went smoothly, he could trade for some white energy stones, but Lin Yi didn't know the exact amount. In any case, Lin Yi would supply Wang Xinyan first. As for Han Jingjing's cauldron, so what if he didn't earn money from it? It's hard to say. If it was a normal practitioner, with such a large energy stone, it wouldn't be a problem to cultivate to the mystic or earth class. As Aunt Ching spoke, she gestured with her hand. It was roughly the size of Uncle Fu's stone. She then continued, but this kind of spongy physique is a lot more. If you want to cultivate to the yellow class, you'll need at least 30 to 50. What? Lin Yi was shocked. 30 to 50? What kind of joke was this? And it was only golden class. If he needed so many energy stones when he just stepped on the path of training, then how much would he need to train on the internet? Lin Yi guessed that he should be able to trade for energy stones from the Bubbly clan, but with so many, Lin Yi wasn't sure. So Lin Yi asked for the next best thing. What if it's just to maintain a lifetime of peace and not training? Then you'll need about 10. Aunt Ching said, Of course, this is just an estimate. There might be some discrepancies. Phew, 10 is not bad. Lin Yi nodded. This time, no matter what price he had to pay, Lin Yi would bring back 10 energy stones from the Bubbly clan, and the clan should have 10 extra. You have this kind of energy stone? Aunt Ching was surprised. This thing had been gone for hundreds of years. Where would Lin Yi get it? No, but I plan to go to Hakanamada Desert to find the Bubbly clan and trade with them. Lin Yi said, So that's how it is. Aunt Ching obviously knew about the Bubbly clan. If that's the case, I can only wish you success. Aunt Ching can't help you too much. I can only provide you with this information. However, if you want to cultivate, you can also try to find a way to see if elder sister left behind any cultivation methods and mnemonics. You haven't found it yet? Lin thought that Aunt Ching had the cultivation method, but it seemed like she didn't. There should be, but I can't be sure. That's because none of us can cultivate this mantra. It's useless even if we get it. So, after my sister left, I didn't deliberately look for it, Aunt Ching explained. Linny nodded. Then I won't bother you anymore. I have to go back and prepare to go to Hakanamata Desert. All right, Linny nodded. I won't disturb you then. I have to go back and prepare to go to Hakanamata Desert. All right. Aunt Ching nodded and hesitated for a moment before saying, if there is news of your grandfather, tell Aunt Ching about it. Okay. Lin smiled bitterly in his heart. Old Lin didn't want him to say anything, so he really didn't dare. Lin found Aunt Ching and got a relatively good answer, but whether or not Lin could find the Bubbly clan, and if he did, whether or not the deal would go through was still unknown. Lin had things on his mind, and naturally, he wouldn't stay long in the Ice Palace. After saying goodbye to Xiao Xiao, he said goodbye to Aunt Ching and Rock Candy and left the Ice Palace. It hadn't even been a day in the Ice Palace, and Xiao Xiao didn't want to leave, but she knew Lin Yi's character. Didn't Lin go around seeking medical help for her? So she didn't want to waste Lin Yi's precious time. Riding on the purple thunderbolt beast, Lin returned to Donghai. Lin came and went in a hurry, and Yushu was very surprised that Lin got home so quickly. Shield Bro, did you see Xiao Xiao? Can Sinyansis be saved? Yushu asked, but her heart sank when she saw the unconscious Sinyan. There was no way Lin would have carried Sinyan back if there was a way to save her. Yes, but it's a bit troublesome. I'm preparing to go to Hakanamata Desert tomorrow. Sinyan will stay at home and won't be coming. Shoo, that place is pretty close to Fiery Mountain. Do you want to go and have a look? Lin paused for a moment. I think I'll pass. I'll drag it out as long as I can. Don't I have to take care of Sinyan Sis at home? Hua Mingyun of Flaming Mountain was Lin Yi's follower, but Yushu didn't want to be separated from him. She didn't know when she'd be back, and she was afraid that she'd have to stay at Flaming Mountain. All right. Lin understood Yushu's thoughts, and he didn't force it. After returning to his room, Lin started pondering. Who should he bring with him this time? Hakanamata Desert was filled with unknown dangers, and to be honest, the best person Lin could bring was Udake. He'd been there once before, and while he didn't find the exact location of the White Energy Stone, he was very familiar with it. It was better than Lin looking for it alone. With that in mind, Lin dialed Udake's number. Mr. Lin. Udake was very surprised when he received Lin Yi's call. Lin was his savior, and also the person who helped his sister. He'd always wanted to find a chance to meet up with Lin again, but as Lin Yi's status rose, Lin Yi was no longer the person who relied on luck to escape from the hidden houses. During the Hidden House Summit, if it wasn't for Lin Yi's luck, he wouldn't have been able to escape from the attacks of the hidden houses. But now Lin Yi didn't care about the hidden houses anymore. He'd be able to trample on the ancient houses, right? He heard that Lin Yi could instantly kill a Sky-class late-phase peak master. What kind of power was that? The gap between Udake and Lin Yi was getting bigger and bigger, and Udake was too embarrassed to contact Lin Yi anymore. It's me, Dake. How have you been? Are you doing well at House U? Lin Yi asked. Chapter 3330. However, he didn't know what other arrangements Lin Yi had. He was afraid that after leaving he wouldn't have anything else to do. How about this? I'll talk to you, Coiling Tiger, and then you can come to my villa to find me. I have something to talk to you about. Lin Yi said. Okay, Mr. Lin. Udake was surprised and happy. He was willing to have a relationship with Lin Yi. Who wouldn't want to follow a powerful person with Udake's qualifications and the strength of the Yu clan, it would be very difficult to go further. Therefore, following Lin Yi was a shortcut. After hanging up the phone, Lin Yi directly called Yu Coiling Tiger. Ah, isn't this boss Lin Yi? What's the matter? Although Yu Coiling Tiger was unhappy with Lin Yi, he absolutely didn't dare to say it out loud. Now, he didn't have any thoughts of revenge against Lin Yi. When the difference in strength between the two was too great, and even Yu Coiling Tiger's backer couldn't do anything to Lin Yi. What thoughts did Yu Coiling Tiger have? Obviously not. He didn't want to die. He didn't want to implicate the hidden Yu clan. I want someone from you, Lin Yi said. Ah. Yu Coiling Tiger was shocked and said with a bitter face, Boss Lin Yi, what person do you want? Don't accuse me wrongly. How would I dare to kidnap someone from you? Yu Coiling Tiger obviously misunderstood. He thought that Lin Yi said that he kidnapped Lin Yi's friend. In the past, he didn't know fear and dared to kidnap Guan Xian with Kong Ming Ming. But now, how would he dare? Even if he ate 100 Qi gathering pills and became a peak late-stage heaven-class master, he still wouldn't dare to act rashly in front of Lin Yi. Even a peak late-stage heaven-class master would die in Lin Yi's hands. Don't say these useless things. There's a person called Udake, right? Lin Yi asked. Ah, Udake? There seems to be. Right, Coiling Tiger was stunned. He thought for a moment and said, Boss Lin Yi, are you talking about this person? Did he offend you? This person is just a guest disciple of our Yu family. He's not a member of our Yu family. I'm going to punish him now. I'm not asking you to punish him. I'm looking for him, for something else. Lin Yi interrupted Panhu Yu's words and said, He's been working for your family for many years, right? Give him something good, and let him come to me. Sure, no problem. Right, Panhu quickly agreed after listening. It was not easy for a guest to leave the family, let alone be given travel expenses. This was a treatment that could only be obtained after making great contributions. However, when Lin Yi spoke, Yu Panhu agreed without thinking because, in his opinion, this was a small matter. If the Yu family really provoked Lin Yi, it would be a big deal. Lin Yi didn't talk much nonsense with Panhu Yu. He hung up the phone and waited for Udake to come to the door. Udake's speed was not slow. Of course, this was also thanks to the hidden Yu family's villa not far from Lin Yi's villa. Udake? How come it's you? Yushu was watching TV in the living room. Someone knocked on the door. She walked over and opened the door. When she saw Udake, she was a little strange. Shu, hello. Mr. Lin, he asked me to come. Is he here? Udake asked politely. Oh, Shield Bro is in the bedroom. I'll call him for you. However, before Yushu could speak, Lin Yi pushed the door open and walked out. Udake, you're here. Sit down and talk. Lin Yi made a gesture to Udake. Okay, Mr. Lin, I don't know why you asked me to come. Udake was actually a little puzzled. Why did Lin Yi suddenly ask him to come here? It's like this. I'm going to the Hakanamata Desert. To put it bluntly, it's to find the kind of energy stone you gave me. Lin Yi didn't beat around the bush and directly stated his purpose. I haven't been there, but you've been there once. So, if we go together, it will be much easier with you as a guide. Of course, no problem, Udake agreed, almost without thinking. He had always been grateful to Lin Yi in his heart. He was worried that he didn't have a chance to repay Lin Yi, now that Lin Yi had something to ask of him. How could he refuse? It's good that there's no problem. Lin Yi nodded and said, Then you pack up. We'll leave tomorrow. That's fine. But can I bring another person with me? Udake hesitated. He knew that it wasn't good to ask Lin Yi. After all, he was looking for him to lead the way for treasure hunting. What was wrong with bringing another person? Did he want to share the loot? But Udake really didn't think so. He had his own thoughts and goals, so he still asked tentatively. Oh, who are you bringing? Lin Yi frowned slightly. Although he didn't directly refuse, his tone was a little unhappy. He didn't want too many people to know that he was going to the Hakanamada Desert, but Udaik had used Xiaoka's relationship, so Lin Yi had to give him face. Udaik wasn't a blind person. He saw Lin Yi's unhappy face and suddenly felt a little awkward. He rubbed his hands and said carefully, "Actually, I want to bring my sister Xiaoka with me. If it's too difficult, then forget it." "Xiaoka?" Lin Yi paused and smiled. "Why didn't you say so earlier? Of course, she can go, but what's the use of bringing her?" "It's like this. Don't I have a secret art passed down in my family? My home used to be in the Hakuna Mata Desert. The absolute study is hidden in the Hakuna Mata Desert. I want Xiaoku to go there because of the absolute study." Udaik did not hide and directly stated his purpose. "Oh, Xiaoka's strength is weaker. Can she go with us? How about we take the secret art back and give it to her?" To be honest, Lin Yi was a little worried. He was afraid that Xiaoka's strength was weak and she would encounter some danger. "That's not impossible, but according to some information passed down by my family, if I were to practice the first level of the unique skill in my family, it would be easier to get started. I won't need it in the future." Udaik said. Chapter 33-31. "Okay, thank you, Mr. Lin," Udaik said happily. Actually, even if Lin Yi didn't go to Hakanamada Desert, he still wanted to find a chance to go there. However, he didn't plan on looking for energy stones. He just wanted to get Xiaoka's practitioner's arts chant. The reason why he didn't bring Xiaoka was because he wasn't that strong, but Lin Yi was different. Lin Yi could kill a Sky-class late-phase peak in one hit. He had enough power to protect Xiaoka, so even if there was danger, Lin Yi would be there. Udaik said goodbye to Lin Yi and left the villa, getting into a Wrangler off-road vehicle. It was a gift from Right Panhu, so at least he had a means of transportation. Recently, Xiaoka had finally caught her breath. The construction of the orphanage had reached a certain scale, and it was now the largest charity home in the province. Not only did they provide for abandoned babies, but they also provided free medical aid for families who were in trouble. One had to know that some parents abandoned sick babies not because they were heartless, but because they really didn't have the money to treat them. Instead of letting their children die in their own home, they might as well try their luck and see if a kind-hearted person would pick them up, raise them, and treat them. If they could cure the child, they wouldn't abandon the child. And so Xiaoka's orphanage provided free aid to this group of families. The construction of the medical building in the orphanage had already been completed. Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was in this industry, building a hospital. And with Guan Shuamin's position in the medical school, many students would join this hospital. Moreover, with Guan Shuamin's son, Guan Xiaoxiang's rich experience in running a hospital, it would be easy for him to send a director who knew how to manage. So, even though the orphanage's hospital was newly built, its technical level wasn't bad at all. There were many people coming and going. What surprised Xiaoka the most was that there was a huge amount of money in the orphanage's account. This money was transferred from abroad, and although this was a public donation account, there was a limit to how much they could donate. Each donation was in the tens of millions, but now it was in the hundreds of millions, and it was in euros. Xiaoka didn't know what to do with this. Who would donate such a huge amount of money? Xiaoka might believe it if it was a donation from within the country, but she didn't believe it if it was from overseas. How could foreigners know about her orphanage? Even if they knew, they wouldn't donate this much, right? And so, Xiaoka instinctively thought that this money had something to do with Lin Yi, but she didn't rule out the possibility that it was the male thief who sent it. She didn't know why, but she felt that it was more likely to be Lin Yi. Sometimes, Xiaoka had to admit that the male thief didn't give her as much money as Lin Yi did. So, the more she thought about calling Lin Yi, the more she wanted to ask him if he was the one who got the money. But Xiaoka was afraid that Lin Yi would become arrogant and ask for more from her that would put Xiaoka in an even more difficult position. But Xiaoka wasn't someone who didn't know how to repay favors. She hesitated and called Lin Yi, but Lin Yi's phone was turned off. Helpless, Lin Yi could only ask Fatty Lai. Fatty Lai couldn't find Lin Yi, so he called Yushu and learned that Lin Yi went overseas to Europe. Fatty Lai told Xiaoka about it. This time, Xiaoka didn't doubt it anymore. Lin Yi must have gotten the money. But the more she thought about it, the more she felt that she owed Lin Yi. Logically speaking, this money was for the orphanage, and Xiaoka didn't spend a single cent herself. She had every reason to treat Lin Yi as a good person, and there was no need for her to feel conflicted. There were so many foundations in the world, and if the person in charge of each foundation were to feel conflicted about the donors, it would be a mess, wouldn't it? But Xiaoka saw herself as a member of the orphanage. Even if the money wasn't spent on her, she still felt that it was for her. This was the main reason why Xiaoka was worried. Now the orphanage was finally on the right track, and Xiaoka wasn't as busy as before. To put it bluntly, she was of little use now. The orphanage was on the right track, and she didn't need to think of ways to get funds anymore. But the more idle she was, the more she was afraid that Lin Yi would find her. And so, Xiaoka lived her days in a dilemma. Today, an uninvited guest came to her office. Xiaoka looked carefully and realized that it was her brother. "Brother, why are you here?" Xiaoka was pleasantly surprised. Her brother hadn't come back since he left last time. Xiaoka missed him, but she didn't know how to contact him. She wanted to ask Lin Yi, but she was afraid of walking into a tiger's mouth. "Xiaoka, how have you been recently? I didn't expect this orphanage to be this big. The last time you date came, the orphanage wasn't this big." "Not bad. Brother, how about you?" Xiaoka asked. "I've left the hidden house you. I'm free now, and I can spend more time with you in the future. But Xiaoka, are you free? I'm going back to our old home tomorrow. Are you free? If you are, let's go together." Udake didn't have much time to waste since they had to leave tomorrow morning. He had to talk to Xiaoka about it at night. "Ah, home?" Xiaoka was adopted by the headmaster when she was young. She didn't remember much at that time, so she didn't have much of a concept of home. Now that Udake brought it up, she naturally wanted to go back and see her home. A real home. "It's okay. I'm not too busy these days. Are we leaving tomorrow? Isn't it a bit rushed? Although many things are on the right track, I still need to make some arrangements." "Yes, tomorrow." "This time, Mr. Lin is looking for me. We'll go back together. Mr. Lin is in a hurry, so we have to go to Donghai City first thing in the morning and leave with him," Udake said. Chapter 33-32. And so, Xiaoka's face darkened. What is he going to do? "Bro, can we go back ourselves? What's wrong with Lin Yi going back? I don't want him to go with us." Ahem. Dake paused, knowing that Xiaoka had misunderstood. He quickly explained, "Xiaoka, Mr. Lin's main goal isn't to go home with us. He has something to do in the desert nearby. I think that it's closer to our home, so I suggested bringing you along." "Ah, really?" Xiaoka didn't believe him. "He's going to do something. Why would he look for you?" "Xiaoka, you misunderstood. Mr. Lin likes you, but he doesn't have any other intentions." Dake quickly explained. He didn't want his sister to misunderstand him as her savior. "Actually, it's like this. I have to start from the treasure map I gave him." With that, Dake told Xiaoka about the white energy stone and the treasure map. He didn't tell Xiaoka about these things in detail before. After all, they met in a hurry and didn't have the chance to talk about these things. Then, Dake told her about the family heirloom art and his request to bring Xiaoka along. He told her about the benefits of training at home. After that, Xiaoka realized that she had misunderstood Lin Yi. It seemed like she had a huge prejudice against him, but if he didn't like her and wanted to pursue her, would she misunderstand? I see. Xiaoka was a little embarrassed, but the person in front of her was her brother. It wasn't Lin Yi, so she didn't mind. Then, let's go, but if Lin Yi wants to get close to me, you have to help me block him. I'll try my best. Udake was actually quite optimistic about Lin Yi and his sister being together, but his sister already had someone she liked. This was a difficult thing to handle, and Udake wasn't sure what to do. Since Xiaoka had decided to go, she got busy and arranged things for the orphanage. She let Xiao Ken temporarily take over her position as vice principal, in charge of the operations of the orphanage. The next morning, Xiaoka sat in Dake's car and went to Donghai City. In front of Lin Yi's villa, Xiaoka frowned as she looked at Lin Yi's villa. Such a big villa. How much did it cost? It'd be better if it was given to the orphanage. Yu Xiaoka's voice was soft, but Udake was a practitioner. There was no one else in the car, so of course he heard it clearly. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. Udake knew how much money Yu Xiaoka's orphanage had after chatting with Yu Xiaoka last night. It was a lot of money, and it was impossible to spend it all. Yu Xiaoka was still thinking about other people's villas. Udake was speechless. However, Xiaoka was just saying it. She was that kind of person, spending every cent she had in half. She did her best for the orphanage. Xiaoka, come with me and wait for Mr. Lin, Dake said to Xiaoka after parking the car. He's a big figure. Do I have to wait for him? Xiaoka said, but still got off the car. After all, Lin Yi donated so much money to the orphanage. Even if Xiaoka didn't like him, she had to put on an act, right? Lin Yi heard the car in the yard and came out of the villa. He saw Dake with a smile and Xiaoka with a depressed face. He found it funny that Xiaoka was still treating him like an enemy. Drive my car. Your car is a little small, Lin Yi said and pointed at the Jeep Cherokee in the yard. Okay, I'll drive. Dake had the awareness of being a follower. His life was given to him by Lin Yi, and it was only right for him to be at Lin Yi's beck and call. However, Xiaoka was a little annoyed. Wasn't her brother being too attentive? What if he sold himself out? Dake got on the car, and Lin Yi wanted to sit in the back and talk to Xiaoka about the orphanage. After all, Lin Yi had given the orphanage some money through Hilwan, and there was a box of money in his jade space. He wanted to give all of it to Xiaoka, but Xiaoka wasn't happy about it. I'm going to sleep in the back later. You can sit in the front. Xiaoka wasn't being unreasonable, but she was afraid that Lin Yi would touch her in the back. How would she deal with him then? She couldn't fall out with Lin Yi, but she couldn't tolerate it either, right? So Xiaoka still thought that Lin Yi should sit in the front. Dake started the car and drove towards the direction of Hakanamada Desert. Lin Yi could ride the purple lightning beast, but it couldn't fit so many people, so it was more convenient to drive. Dake was helpless against Xiaoka's lack of respect. Xiaoka, Mr. Lin is sitting in the back because he wants to discuss the orphanage with you. He was helping Lin Yi, but how would he know that Lin Yi really thought that way? It was just that Dake wanted to create an opportunity for Lin Yi. Can we talk like that? Xiaoka said, Haha, it's nothing much. Did you receive the money from before? It's from abroad. Lin Yi asked. Yes, it's you? Thank you. Xiaoka thought that it was Lin Yi, but the more it was like this, the more unhappy she was. After all, she owed Lin Yi more and more. I have a box of money here. I'll give it to you too. It's from abroad. With that, Lin Yi took out the money pouch from the jade space. Right, this is in euros as well, but it shouldn't be too hard for you, right? The box of money I gave you at the market was in foreign currencies as well. Lin Yi suddenly stopped talking because Lin Yi realized that he got the wrong identity. At the cultivator's market, Lin Yi was the male thief in front of Xiaoka, not Lin Yi. What market did you give me a box of foreign currency? Xiaoka froze and looked at Lin Yi, confused. However, even though she was confused, she was shocked when Lin Yi took out a big bag of money. Where did the money come from? Lin Yi didn't take the money when he got in the car. Did he leave it in the front passenger seat? The car was parked in the yard. Wasn't he afraid of losing it? Chapter 33:33. Plus, how could her brother not see it when he got on the car? It's fine. I meant that I transferred a bunch of foreign currency to your bank account. The orphanage is getting bigger now, and you guys are getting a lot of donations. The foreign currency isn't that eye-catching anymore. Lin E said, covering it up. It wasn't that Lin E was careless, but Lin E didn't have the concept. After all, the person was Lin E. It was normal for Lin E to get confused after a while. Oh, that's a lot of money. The money from before is more or less enough. The orphanage has passed the period of rapid development, and we're stabilizing. We don't need so much money anymore. Xiaoka didn't know if she should take the money or not. She would feel uneasy if she took the money. Huh? You take it first. It's a second-level automatic cauldron. It's still unknown. I'm afraid that Lu Jinghan and Fatty Lie's business will shrink, and we won't have enough money to support you guys, Linny said. Oh, then, I can't take so much money. Xiaoka was tempted by Lin Yi's words. But how was she going to take so much money? Oh, I'll give it to you when we get back. Lin Yi threw the bag of money into the jade space. If Xiaoka didn't see it clearly before, she was shocked now. Where did the money go? Xiaoka's eyes widened, but she couldn't figure out where Lin Yi hid the money. Was this a magic trick? Even magic tricks couldn't be this powerful, right? One had to know that close-range magic required props and support, but Linny was different. Her brother was driving, and Xiaoka just stood there and watched as the bag of money disappeared. There was only so much space in the car, and there was no place to hide the money. This didn't fit the laws of space science. Your money, where did it go? Xiaoka asked curiously. I'm not telling you, Lin Yi said. He wanted to tease Xiaoka. In fact, Udake was also puzzled. How did the money disappear when Lin Yi changed hands? Could it be a ghost? However, Udake didn't ask about these things. Anyway, he knew that Lin Yi was outstanding. On the other hand, Xiaoka paused and asked curiously after hearing Lin Yi's words, where did he go? That's impossible. Xiaoka said, as she looked at the front passenger seat. She didn't see the bag of money from before, which made her even more confused. Hee, I only tell my own people. If you want to be my girlfriend, I will tell you. Lin Yi laughed. Humph. Xiaoka's face changed. I don't want to know anymore. Lin Yi smiled faintly and didn't say anything else. After all, he couldn't tell others about the jade space. Even if Lin Yi trusted Xiaoka, he couldn't. So he used this reason to stop Xiaoka from asking. The car moved forward slowly. Udake's driving skills were quite good, and he knew the roads well. The journey was uneventful, and Xiaoka evidently didn't want to talk to Lin Yi. She fell asleep as soon as they got on the road. One reason was that she was really tired. She'd been busy with the orphanage all this time, and now that she could finally relax, she naturally wanted to rest. Second, she really didn't know what to say to Lin Yi. Thank Lin Yi? She was very grateful, but what if Lin Yi asked her to marry him? Udake was helpless about this, but he knew that he couldn't control his sister's thoughts. He didn't dare to offend Lin Yi, so he could only drive quietly. Dake, is your family from the Hakanamata deserts? Lin Yi asked. That's right. I grew up there. Udake sighed as he recalled the events of the past. Back then, he was also the young master of a practitioner family. Although his family couldn't be said to be particularly large, it was at least stronger than the current hidden families. It could even be compared to the ancient families. But because he offended a group of people, his whole family was killed. Fortunately, Udake had taken his sister out to play and wasn't at home, so he had escaped the disaster. However, when he carried his sleeping sister home, he saw from afar that the group of people had killed his parents, family, uncles, and siblings. Not a single one was spared. At that time, Udake was very indignant, but he was also deeply helpless. He clenched his fists tightly, but he didn't dare to make the slightest movement. Although he wanted to rush over and stop these people's evil deeds, he also knew that he couldn't stop them with his own strength. He was just a child who had just entered the path of cultivation. How could he compete with these people? So, what he could do was to remember the faces of these people and bury this hatred in his heart. Back then, he secretly swore that one day he would definitely take revenge. However, as he grew older, Uday deeply understood a principle, and that was that his strength was really too low. After so many years, he was still just an Earth-class expert. His achievements were just a guest of the Hidden You family. He wasn't even as strong as a secular family. How could he take revenge with just this? After so many years, he didn't even know who his enemies were, let alone take revenge. Sometimes people had to face reality. When their ability was seriously insufficient, they could only give up some ideas in their hearts. Uday used to be like this. He knew that if he continued to mingle in the Yu family, he might not be able to take revenge for the rest of his life. This was also the reason why he wanted to commit suicide when he was seriously injured. But when he met Lin Yi, hope was reignited. If the rumors in the pugilistic world were true during this period of time, that Lin Yi could instantly kill an expert with the strength of the peak late stage of heaven class, then it would be a peak existence in the entire cultivation world. Even an expert at the peak of perfection would not dare to boast that he could instantly kill an expert with the strength of the peak late stage of heaven class. However, Uday also knew that Lin Yi only treated him as an ordinary friend. This was also because of Yu Xiaoke. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him and Lin Yi to cross paths in the future. Therefore, in fact, in the depths of Uday's heart, he was still inclined to let Yu Xiaoke follow Lin Yi. First, Lin Yi was the savior of their family. Second, Lin Yi had the ability to take revenge for their family. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.